Hello folks, welcome to the second channel. Now if you're watching this from my main channel, this is going to be the channel where I'm going to put all of the, compilations, so all the series together into one longer style video, so you've got something to watch in the background. So coming up today will be a lot of the new Moneyball series videos, so we're going to put them all together so you can just sit back, watch them as they play out. There will be other things coming on this channel. I'm not sure what direction to take it. There might be a few talking head videos like this or some tactic videos, but I'm going to keep it separate from the main channel. So if you're a member of the channel on the main channel, make sure you subscribe to this one and let's push this one up to 10,000. Right, today the clubs we feature are from Germany, it's Hanover. From Italy, it's Brescia. From the Premier League, it's Fulham. From the Eredivisie, it's Telstar. We go to Indonesia and Persija. And finally, we go to Scotland and Hearts, which is a video that's just came out today on the main channel. So not the popular teams that a lot of people like to do. We like to do things a bit differently. Some struggling teams, some smaller teams, but watch as we build them up in the Moneyball series. Today we try to copy the Brighton model of buying players for cheap and selling them on at a huge profit. And we're going to do this using the Moneyball approach, using data to find these players and sell them on for a whopping profit. Now the overall goal of this is to be successful and rise the team that I have chosen into a higher status where they start from. If we can get a trophy along the way, hell, that'd be a great bonus. Okay, so the chosen club we're going to go on this journey with is Hanover in the second Bundesliga. Now, there's a few reasons this club was chosen. I wanted to start in a division lower than the top division, and preferably with a club with a little bit of history. And as you can see, a couple of Bundesligas and a Pokal in their history, but it's been some time. Not to mention that outstanding stadium, 49,000. A small but compact squad to start us off, and finances in a stable, if unspectacular, starting position. So with the club chosen, the first season was all about establishing ourselves while the data builds up in the database so we can get some players in. Goals for the season? Top half finish would be lovely. They'd also brought quite a lot of players in during the summer, so I didn't want to bring anyone else in and give these players a chance at least till January. The squad was small and compact, but I like to work with a small and compact squad. It led me to slot in a pretty basic 4-3-3 for our first season, with wing backs attacking down the flanks, two central midfielders backing up the striker, with an inside forward, and an electric winger in Rabbi Matondo. He could be a key man. He's on loan from Rangers, and as you can see from his abilities, the quickness stands out. It's the great unknown in terms of judging my players, so I've got to do a combination of abilities, seeing if there's any standouts there, and relying on the coach reports of my staff to help guide me into choosing my first 11. So I built that 4-3-3 because that's the way the squad kind of lent. Going into the mid-season break, results were quite interesting. Interesting indeed, as we started a bit up and down, but we've gained a little bit of consistency now, and it's led to us sitting top of the league. It's very, very tight, but we are outperforming expectations big time. Don't get me wrong, we're a pretty fancied team in this division, 5th at 6-1, but to be top of the league at this stage is a massive bonus. And with half a season of football now played, I can start to judge what type of players I've got. It was clear I was blessed with a great wing back in Brooklyn Eze, the left back. As his data charts show, he's performing outstanding for an attacking wing-back. And as expected, Rabbi Matondo was providing a threat down the right-hand side with an outstanding amount of dribbles per match. It's also a key point in the season in terms of recruitment for next season. It's the 31st of December, which means contracts are starting to expire around the world. Which was another key point, because as soon as I was able to, I upped the scouting range to world to give me that massive database of players. To help me still further, I'm bringing in various scouts. Algerian Karim has great knowledge of African football, and I'm going to bring more in to try and make this recruitment team the best it can be. So with such a small squad, when I was looking to recruit, it was pretty much an open book, getting players in for all positions. And the initial clutch of signings covered that remit. We've got a load of players coming in at the end of the season, and these players cover a wide range in terms of where they're coming from. Goalkeeper Salmani is coming from Albanian football. Found a good centre-back in Shumi from the second division in Spain, and as you can see, he wins the ball back a load, doesn't lose it, and he wins a good ratio of headers. There was even players from Japanese football. This is fullback Ishihara. He's throwing in some pretty decent defensive performances. Also coming in from the Spanish lower leagues is Quella, who can play across any attacking midfield position or up front. And this season his goal ratio has been outstanding with 15 and 18. So we've got these players coming in early. There'll be more to come at the end of the season. Now speaking of the end of the season, we continued with solid, if unspectacular results all the way through. And with 2 games to go, we've beaten all expectations, including my own, by winning the title with 2 games to go, already clear by 10 points. Unspectacular but solid has been the theme of this season. We've scored 57, which isn't a great deal, but we've kept it tight, only conceding 25 goals. That's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. With over half the squad out of contract, I need to decide on quickly who's going to stay with the club. As the team performed better, as did some of the players start to stand out, such as Enzo Leopold, who's my creative midfielder. And Brooklyn Eze was the outstanding fullback in the league, with his value shooting up to nearly 7 million. Becoming more of a force throughout the season was Nicola Trasoldi. Whether he played as a striker or attacking midfielder, he contributed huge with 8 goals. And only 20 years old with a top value that's only going to go up, he's one to watch. So at this point, I might have got myself in a bit of a pickle because all these players you see coming in here that we signed mostly based on their first half performance of the season. There you can see Shumi, the centre back, bought them thinking that we'd still be in this league, having to build the squad up. But now I need to judge if they're going to be good enough for the step to the Bundesliga. There are 2 ways we're going to try and recruit these players. Using the data, definitely, but also relying on our scouts to bring up the scout reports so we can look at those players. Using this method has meant I've been able to start building a shortlist from players recommended to me, and these are players that I would not normally find, such as Marcello Alandi. We've got Kareem to thank for this one. He's had a pretty good season as an attacking midfielder with great expected assists and a good goal contribution, and he's available for a pretty decent price, so he's one under consideration. And there are various players here, including players from the Ivory Coast and all over the world, because I was able to use this method to build an absolutely stonking shortlist to choose from, ready for next season. And judging by the season preview, it's going to be a long old season as well, as we are ranked 450 to 1 in our first season back in the Bundesliga. And as expected, I had to do a big turnaround of players, with a lot of players getting released who wouldn't be good enough for the Bundesliga, and some transfers out, and an absolute load of transfers in. But the key point, we only spent 1.1 million. Going into the new season, we're going to stick with the 4-3-3 that served us so well last season, but crucially I have managed to build myself a big squad for this demanding season. Now look, things didn't start great, with a bit of a thumping away at Mainz and the standard defeat to FC Bayern, but we put up a hell of a fight. And that kind of summed up the first half of our season, as there was a lot of draws, but we weren't losing many matches. And currently, after 20 matches, we're sat in 7th. The 4-3-3 is holding up. We've only scored 23 times in those 20 games, but we have only conceded 19. And Trasoldi has taken the step up really well, playing as a pressing forward, scoring 9 times and giving me a good overall performance. Of the new players, Yuto Awazaki, signed from Japanese football, has been superb as an inside forward. He was a free transfer and he scored 11 in 20, and now his value is shot right up. New goalkeeper Lubomir Belko looks like a snip at 700,000. Signed on his scout report, which has transitioned over to his coach report, looks like a pretty good all-round goalkeeper. So 1.1 million spent in our first season in the Bundesliga, yet to cash in on any players, but if we can maintain solid in the Bundesliga this season, those player values are going to go up. The second half of the season was a bit more of a struggle as teams probably worked us out a bit. We ended up finishing the season in 11th, but I would have took that at the start of the season, and we'd already started to make moves for next season based on a variety of things. Kareem, the African scout, might have done it again with Oswin Apolis. He's got some real key ability standouts, including flair, dribbling, vision and pace. I've also started to build the shortlist for next season. This is the season 3 shortlist. All these players here are going to be under consideration. Fernino as a striker is going to be available. Could be a great pickup. As would Facundo Gonzalez, who looks like Juventus are going to release him. I've also got my recruitment focuses locked in. I expect some big results coming from here. This is Kareem's African section, and he's already identifying some good looking talent. So as the new season rolled into place, I didn't make many signings, but interestingly, our first big transfer out. Now this is a random one for me. Daniel Cueto came in for me for a free transfer at the start of last season. He didn't play a minute for us before Juventus spent 3.8 million on him. Perfect. Players coming in, I did manage to get the signing of Fernino in. He spent a couple of seasons in the second division in Spain scoring a bucket full of goals. Oswin Apolis came in on a free. He started fantastic and he's got a massive transfer value already. And we did manage to secure Facundo Gonzalez from Juventus. This season I'm going to explore a different tactic with Trasoldi and Nino both having a chance to play up front, but largely the squad is the same as last season. My first big outlay was 2 million on Justin Januzek. I'm hoping he can double that at least. It takes my overview to spend 4.2, sold 5 million. Lots of work to do. Our second season in the Bundesliga started with one of our best victories for a very long time as we beat Borussia Dortmund. 2 of the key new signings got the goals, Apolis with the first, and in the second half, Fernino bagged the second. Those 2 players had been key in what was turning into a really good season. At the halfway point, I was sitting in third. I'd lost a lot of matches, but I'd also won a lot as well. This had given me the confidence to start signing players for next season, knowing we were going to be a Bundesliga team. Milan van Uwik's coming in from the Championship in England. Granted, his data isn't spectacular. However, there's 2 reasons I signed him. His value is currently at 9 million. Bear in mind his contract's out in 6 months. And also his scout report was favourable And this is a first for me, as I've locked in a signing from the Syrian league in Mahmoud Al Aswad. Unfortunately, we lost our first player. Shumid left us for 1.2 million. But what a signing Firmino had been. Look at that performance for a striker. He's playing as a deep line forward. I'm pretty happy with Oswin Apollis as well. And it's great to see Brooklyn Eze managing the step up perfectly. And Facundo Gonzalez from Juventus, pretty solid stuff as a ball playing defender. It's pretty clear though he's not great in the air, he's more of a ball player, so I need a rough and tough centre back to join him. This is where we use a combination of scout recommendations and then looking at the player a bit more closely, either ruling them in or ruling them out. Second half of the season was similar to the year before, where we dropped off a little bit before coming back into it, but it was another solid finish in 9th place. We even got to the semis of the Pokal but blew it in a penalty shootout. Another thing I'd like to achieve with this approach is taking players that have kind of been bought from other clubs and discarded, who've still got a bit of life left in them, getting them in for a cheap fee. I was able to do this in the January transfer window with Ridal Baku, who signed for just 600,000. He was at Leipzig not getting a match, we signed him cheap, played him as an attacking right back and it was fantastic for us, and his value already shot up. Now we're into the close season, we've got signings already lined up coming from various places like the Championship, League One, even away back to Africa. But now, as a pretty established Bundesliga team, it's time to crank this up a bit. As we went into our third season in the Bundesliga, things started to happen on the transfers out front. We sold Boris Tomiak to Hamburg for 7.5 million, and the fullback we signed on a free, Ishihara, left us for 3.3. With add-ons that totaled 9.5 million, and we'd only spent 60,000 on players for us. So at this stage we've spent 4.9 million and recouped 15.5. It's hardly Brighton levels, but at least we've made a start. And this is the point of the save where we really crank things up. We're an established team now, with a little bit of money, now we can push it. And we were going to have to, as Firmino left us in January. Damak of Saudi Arabia came in and gave us a £14 million profit from a player we signed for nothing. We also sold Quella back to Spanish football. Sometimes this data approach doesn't work every time. We've got to be realistic here. And it was time for us to break our record with the Firmino money, signing centre-back Balisian from Bayer Leverkusen. He cost me 3.9 million after barely getting a kick for Leverkusen. Signed on his coach report, which was all pros and hardly any cons. Halfway point of the season, we're once again looking solid. But we're going to miss the top scorer in the Bundesliga in Firmino. The signing of Van Uwijk had paid off big time. As we continued through the season with some positive results, including pushing FC Bayern to the absolute brink using our new box formation, another sale hit us as Facundo Gonzalez went to Bayer Leverkusen. They triggered his release clause for 6.5 million, but that's a whopping profit after only 50 matches for us. But let me introduce you to a player I spent 7 million on in Mateus Abaldo. He's already had a stunning impact playing as one of the attacking midfielders. Despite the mid-season squad reshaping, we managed to finish 7th in the league again, and with the finances on the way up, which has bled over to the transfer and wage budget, some of our biggest signings yet are on the way in. These players coming in are all about resale value. El Hadji Diouf comes from Slavia as a fullback, and possibly our most exciting signing yet is Zito Lavumbo. Playing for Cagliari, not only does he score goals at Serie B level, but he also did pretty well in Serie A for a struggling team. A free transfer signing, he could be a big profit maker. Also, with this box formation, it's vital we win that ball back in midfield. And that's why the signing of Gustavo Puerto could be a genius one on a free transfer, because he wins the ball back. With the season coming to a close, now things are starting to shift. We've spent 15 million, but we've recouped 38.5. Now I'm massively confident that we won't get relegated. Our squad is strong enough. It was time to build things up, including the scouts, and get some more players in. To assist this, I got myself a South American scout in Gilberto. He recommended young Colombian forward Edwin Franco, and if you look at his abilities, it's not hard to see why. He'd scored 27 times in 50 matches for Nacional before I spent 1.6 million on him. Then Hanover really did start to feel like Brighton, as we got raided by some bigger teams. After just one season, Milan Van Uwijk went to Borussia Dortmund for 10.5 million. 31 games, 10.5 million pound profit. And then after some hard bargaining, Day one at Enzo Leopold went to RB Leipzig for 20 million. Some other players that hadn't quite worked out left us for various fees, like 1 million for Cesar Palacios, who had signed on a free. Alejandro went to Stuttgart for 1.4. And overall I brought in 36 million in the summer transfer window. To replace them, I went for players that had been discarded by their other teams. Players that I'd never seen in FM before, such as Asta Vranks. Wolfsburg weren't giving him a kick, so I picked him up for 1.7 based on his coach report, which told me he was going to be a good player. As a defensive midfielder, he started off superbly. A similar story for Auriel Amenda from Bayer Leverkusen. They signed him for 8 million, 25 games later, we pick him up for just 3 million. 6'6" centre-back could be absolutely perfect for us. Overall, this transfer window we spent 6 million and bring in 36. Now this was the season where the box formation really came up trumps. We've got the right players for this right tactic. Zito Lavumbo has been insane. He scored 19 times in just 17 matches, and you won't see a better striker pie chart than that. He's up front with Colombian Edwin Franco, bagged 14 goals with 11 assists. Behind them you've got Albaldo. With that centre-back too that we picked up discarded by Bayer Leverkusen. Belasian's the ball player, as you can see there. And Amenda, he's all about defending. Put that all together and what's happened is a stunning first half of the season, including one Thomas Tuchel will want to forget. As my front boys ran riot on the counter-attack. Bayern just could not deal with this. As we smash in the greatest result in Hanover's history, surely. 6-0 away win at Bayern. It means we sit top of the table by a whopping 9 points. And it's not hard to see why, as all the players are excelling. In assists, in key passes, even crosses attempted. And as far as shots go, Zito is unhinged. At the halfway point of the season, we have the top 2 goal scorers in the league, 4 out of the 5 highest average ratings, 3 players tied for most assists. However, the second half of the season didn't match the first half of the season as we started to struggle a little bit. With only a couple of games to go, we still are top of the league as Bayern have their worst season in living memory, but we're just ahead of Leverkusen. Things were complicated as we lost Riddle Baku to Saudi in January. He went for 10.5 million, a whopping £9.5 million profit. I also made 5 million profit on reserve goalkeeper Bancoli. I signed him for 700,000, sold for 4.9. My new right back came from Dinamo and I spent big money at 9.25 million. I think it was worth it as his coach report was fantastic. This is Noah Mikic, and since he signed for us, he's been out of this world as a fullback. I'd also spent 6.5 million on Sergio Benitez. This was purely on his coach report and potential ability. He's just starting to break into the team and he wins tackles. And the final signing was Erwin Condessa, a young defender. Signed for just 400,000 from the lower leagues in Portugal. His performances already, although limited, have been really good. And the scouts came up trumps with this one, it looks like. His value is an absurd 41 to 51 million. In our very next match, we lost again, this time to Dortmund. We got things going again in our last game away at Wolfsburg with Zito scoring twice. And that meant, unbelievably, with the lowest winning league total in Bundesliga history, we'd won the Bundesliga. We lost 7 matches in the second half of the season, but I did enough in the first half of the season to keep the league title by 3 points. Some of the signings had really paid off, such as Ranks in the central midfield as a ball winner, and the 2 centre-backs discarded by Leverkusen, out of this world. But striker Lavumbo, despite dropping off a bit in the second half of the season, scored us the goals. What we have now in this squad is a lot of sellable assets. But we've just won the league, do we really want to get rid of them? As it stands, we've spent 38.5 million, recouping 91 million. So I don't know how we were going to top that. I did not expect us to get near a title. It has a lot to do with the fact that Bayern fell off a cliff and only 68 points to win a title. Have you ever seen a title won with such few points? Now, after that massive bonus, it was time to look at how we can reshape the squad. Winning the league meant there was a lot of interest in our players. In preparation for this, my scouts had came up trumps again. Konstantinos Karatas is at Genk, and that's his attacking midfield data for this season. Outrageous. The good news is he joins us on a free transfer. I've also bulked out the recruitment focuses. We've got one dedicated to South America, which keeps bringing up top talent to have a look at. Not forgetting to look around Europe, and especially ones that will be available for direct transfer. The shortlists are built up and ready. Eyeing up a move for John Melberg, who's at Salzburg. I'm just waiting to see if I can get that fee lowered a little bit. With that Bundesliga title, our overall balance at the club now is 122 million. That's not bad considering where we started. I'm obviously delighted with the squad, but we're going to have to bulk it up for next season with the Champions League in mind. One player of note is Christian Kufani, who I've had for many years now. I've sent him out on loan a few times and he's been doing the job, so it might be time to give him a chance. So at the start of the new season, with the Super Cup in the bag against Leipzig, no players had left. It was a surprisingly quiet summer, with us only bringing in 2 players, and we kept the momentum up through pre-season and into the start of the season. But then things screeched to a halt as Zito Lavumbo went to Barcelona. They triggered his release clause of 45 million, so after just 1 season, he leaves us. That meant Tresoldi gets back into the team. He's doing a good job, but he's not as prolific as Zito. And it affected us big time as the combination of losing Zito and the Champions League extra fixtures knocked us off. Halfway point of the season, we were struggling down in 8th. We're definitely not regaining the title. Bayern might though, probably because they sacked Tuchel and brought in the devil himself in Marco Rose. Tied up deals for the end of the season for Saber Kabalashvili, a left back, and Tahirovic for defensive midfield. And it looks like we should qualify for the Champions League next stage, so we're doing pretty well. We gave it a good effort in the Champions League, getting to the last 16 before going out on penalties to Tottenham. In the league, we recovered quite a bit, end up finishing 6th, at least we're back into Europe next season. Coming in for next season is another Kareem special in Shihab Ben Salam. He's got an outstanding goal scoring record with 31 goals this season, and he's got some key ability standouts. I've also got a Youssef Arabi coming in on a permanent transfer for 16 million. That will be our biggest transfer yet. Signed initially on loan from Inter, I've seen enough, I want to make the move permanent. Now to some extent we're probably back where we should be. A top 6 team, that Bundesliga win was probably a bit of a freak result thanks to Bayern dropping off a cliff. Now we need to maintain ourselves as in that ballpark of best of the rest. So this was the first pre-season where we'd actually spent more than we brought in. It was triggered by yet another move to Barcelona as a left back. Juve left us for 22 million. It's a whopping profit though, as we signed him for 59,000. He spent 2 seasons here and off to the new camp he goes. The club's in a good financial state, which led me to spending more money. There was a £16 million move for Arabi on the permanent move from Inter. Scouts came in trumps for another player, Martin Croucher, a youngster from Australia, with loads of positive scout feedback. This kid was signed on a free transfer. As soon as I saw his ability ranges, I knew I had to sign him. So 6 seasons in, into our 7th season, things are progressing steady and nicely. A word on Carrot Saz, signed on a free transfer last season. He's been outrageous this season already, scoring 5 in 4. His value shot up to 81 to 91 million. His debut season with us, he managed 13 goals in 33. Despite the big levers the last few seasons, we have managed to keep the core of the squad pretty much the same for the last 3 seasons. Another mixed bag of the first half of the season. It seems we might have found our level. At the midway point of the season, we're sat in 8th position, just a little below the top 4, and in the Europa League, we qualified, just missing out on top 8. But alas, there's another big transfer leaving us. And to be fair, it's another huge profit as Asta Vranks leaves us for Saudi. 2.5 seasons with us, 1.7 million in, sold for 24.5. But we foresaw this, and that's why we brought Taharovic in so he can jump straight in. We've also tied up some exciting signings coming in for next season. First up, a Kareem special from South Africa, Feko Mazoji. He'll be arriving on a free transfer from Supersport United as a 6'5" centre-back with great potential. From Arsenal, Ethan Nweri's going to come. He's on loan at the minute at Bundesliga side Stuttgart. He's playing predominantly as a striker, but I see him playing more in that attacking midfield slot. Free transfer, no-brainer. And coming from the Premier League is Matheus Franca, currently at Crystal Palace. They signed him in 23-24 for 19 million. He's been there a good few years, solid every season. He'll be joining us on a free transfer. We got all the way to the quarterfinals of the Europa League before succumbing to Napoli. A really good showing in the second leg, disappointed not to get through. We had a bit of a sticky end to the season, and in the league it's another 7th place finish. But Arabi at 16 million proved to be an absolute snip. Franco continues to be a great player and his value shot up to over 50 million. But there's definitely interest in Konstantinos, who had another great season, and I think FC Bayern are starting to sniff. On the transfer front, a new goalkeeper might be on the way from Japan in Takahiro Suzaki, who's playing for their national team. This season's totals were we sent out 50 million and we brought in 34.5, which meant the running total is 76 million spent, 197 million sold. The shortlist is built for the new season. There's even players like Diallo on that shortlist who's available pretty cheap, but I'm trying to stay away from well-known players. Instead, I've put my focus into building up my recruitment team, and it's now pretty much the best in the Bundesliga. I've got a good range of scouts now who can cover loads of different countries, and it's throwing up some interesting players, and when you get an A+ recommendation, you really need to look into them, such as Angulo from Real Madrid. He's obviously not getting a lot of game time, but he's someone I will monitor. So the Brighton model is all about buying players for cheap and selling them on at a massive profit. Think Casado, and this was the summer where it started to happen big time. So we tied up those players that I talked about, spending 2.1 million. On the way out though was 123 million pounds worth. Belushian, our centre back, went to Saudi, bought for 3.9 million, he leaves for 21. I was disappointed to lose Albaldo, but a 14 million pound profit on him was decent, but the massive profit came from Konstantinos, who went to Bayern Munich, our rivals, for 81 million. They triggered his release clause, but what a profit. Thankfully I saw this coming and I've got 2 attacking midfielders to jump into that role straight away. It does also mean that young Portuguese defender Condesso, well, he can jump into that centre-back spot and make it his own. And that's what Brighton excel at. When they know someone's going to get sold, they've got someone ready to jump in, and that's what we've done there. The first half of the season looked like a return to our best form yet, as we absolutely blasted it. This included a victory against Bayern, and at the halfway point of the season, we are their biggest rivals for a league title. In the Conference League, we finished second in qualifying, but then things got a lot harder. as one of the players we signed in the summer, our boy Ethan, ends up at Bayern Munich. He only played 15 matches, he looked good, and then they paid 60 million for him. Also leaving us was a couple of squad players that we made big money on. With all this money burning a hole in our pockets, I had to make some transfers. My South American scout led me to Thomas Wallens, who, with all the pros here, had to be bought. He's already a fixture in defensive midfield and looks a great talent. Look at that abilities, and remember, excellent is yellow. Wow. Right back Jordan Borgia was signed for 2.6 million. Left back Daniel Malov was signed from Freiburg for 10 million. That is an outstanding start to his career with us. I've just signed Liam Jimenez, who was playing his football in Ligue 2. He looks outstanding technically. We'll see how he progresses. And from South America, we've just signed Attila da Silva. Comes from Flamengo, where he was starting to score some decent goals. Scouts and coaches love him. So after bringing in 201 million, we've spent 39 million, with the top signing coming in at 15 million. Not bad. This was the season where we did not fall away in the second half of the season. In fact, we'd even made it to the Europa Conference League final, having beaten Atalanta over 2 legs in the semi. Not only that, but the league went to the final game of the season. We had to beat Bayern, but unfortunately they had too much for us. They took down the league, but it was mighty close. But we've still got the UEFA Conference League final to look forward to. Unfortunately, it's against Aston Villa. The new signings looked good. Sasaki in goals looks like a world beater. I would say Thomas Wallens in midfield is the one to watch in terms of resale. He wins the ball back at a decent rate and progresses the ball nicely. Franke has been the ultimate free transfer signing with 22 goals and 15 assists. His pie chart is fantastic for an attacking midfielder. There's massive competition for the slot next to him. Jimenez has got it at the minute. The young Frenchman's on a good run of form, but he's been rotating with Croucher. But my strikers have been outrageous with Edwin Franco, Ben Salam, both of them two with 50 between them. But let's get to this cup final, shall we? Anyone that's followed the channel will know I was dreading this match against Villa. But to my surprise, we absolutely battered them, taking down the final with a thumping 3-0 win, which gave us our second major trophy since we took charge of Hanover. And things were starting to look more impressive in terms of the bank balance as well, with 120 million total brought in, but we've now sold 397 going into the next season. As we went into the new season, we cleaned the squad out a little bit, gaining us 27.5 million. I allowed Arabi to go for 20 million just because I've got so many good strikers. Players coming in was looking good though. Marius Dosso was a new goalkeeper backup. And I managed to get Habib Diarra in on a free transfer from Strasbourg. He'd excelled in Ligue 1, looking forward to having him. This was a season where a lot of our players were starting to mature into great talents. Check out this 7-0 win against Mönchengladbach. We were also a threat in the Champions League, beating Inter Milan and even away at PSG. We'd spent 12 million. By the end of January, we recouped 82. That's because Feko Majosi got sold for 20 million. He'd only played 24 matches. Right back Noah Mikic went for 35 million. But with the excellent Borgia able to jump into right back, I wasn't too worried, so I didn't bring anybody else in. Not only were these boys making money by transfers, they were making it by performance as we got to the semi-finals of the Champions League. After losing 3-0 at the Bernabeu, we went oh so close to turn it around to get to the final by beating Real Madrid 4-2, but we went out 5-4 in aggregate. In the league, it was another good performance, but we just can't catch Bayern, who have got most of our better players now. Despite that, we are making this club some serious money while still performing on the pitch. We've brought in £133 million worth of players, but we've sold 495. I'm actually really happy with what we've done to the club. I think we've established them now as one of the better teams in the Bundesliga, doing it sensibly and still making money. Remember, the highest fee we've spent so far is 16 million on Youssef Arabi. Intended to call it a day there, but we're going to have one more go to try and gazump Bayern Munich. So one last big push, and one thing's for sure, this tactic has been an absolute boomer. I've got a couple of players coming in this season. Do you remember Angulo, the guy from Real Madrid? Well, he's available on a free transfer, and despite limited minutes at Real Madrid, I can't turn this down. I'm also taking attacking midfielder Houssem Selmi. He's from Tunisian football, so another win for Karim. Speaking of Karim and the scouts, I've now got the best recruitment team in the Bundesliga. That's vital for the philosophy we've taken. Scout Gianluca Passotto and Gilberto both gave me glowing references on the following player. Joshua Navarro is a fullback from Chile, not hard to see why they wanted me to grab him. And for this final season, it was a quieter transfer window. We brought in 18.5 million, largely of squad players leaving us. I only spent 7.5 million. All of that was on Navarro. And we clicked into gear pretty much straight away. We're a really good team now. After 23 matches, it's us pushing Bayern Munich yet again, but it just got a hell of a lot harder as we've just sold our record transfer. Thomas Wallens has moved to Liverpool and they paid a mighty fee for him. Bought for 1.2 million. 2.5 seasons later, he goes to the Premier League for 119 million, which will rise. Now that's meant Angulo comes into the team and he's still a quality player. Disappointingly though, we have just been knocked out of the Champions League by Ajax, round of 16 this time. But my strikers continue to flourish. Attilio da Silva bought for 15 million, looking good. So being out of the Champions League meant we could focus on the Bundesliga, and it was a decided game here against FC Bayern. So Franco scores the vital goal as we beat Bayern 1-0. This means with just 3 games to go, there's a point in it. We're so close to overthrowing them yet again. That result was part of a great run in the second half of the season. But then out of nowhere, we lose to Freiburg. That could be absolutely vital. We respond well with our best performance of the season, beating Union Berlin 5-1. We just trounced them. Problem was, it was too little too late as Bayern kept winning and they take down the title again. But we do have a chance for redemption because we've got to our first Pokal final and it is against FC Bayern. Before we go into that final, I thought we'd have a little look at the final statistics. So we spent 141 million in total transforming this Hanover team into the best of the rest in the Bundesliga, and we brought in a whopping 631 million. And the most we spent was just 16 million on Youssef Arabi. So really proud of what we've managed to do there. If you get the right scouting team like we've got, use the data, use the scout reports together, and have a little focus on players that have been bought by big clubs and just not used, you can build up a hell of a squad. Right, Pokal final, Bayern Munich. So it's against our new arch rivals in the final, and after 24 minutes, we fell behind. However, it's the 92nd minute of injury time right now. Cross comes in, Condessa, the young Portuguese defender, he made it 1-1 and that took us to a penalty shootout. Now granted, we haven't had the best record in penalty shootouts during this save, but now we've got a goalkeeper, the Japanese number 1 Sasaki, who's a bit of a demon, as he saved time and time again from Bayern superstars. And then when Ben Salem scored this one, it meant we'd done it and we'd got the Pokal. A fitting ending to the save. 10 long seasons where we built the club up slowly, made ourselves the best of the rest in Germany. I mean, we leave Hanover as one of the richest clubs in the world, thanks to that £490 million transfer profit. Today I'm going to try and rescue a club in a very different way, under very different circumstances. This club are in serious financial trouble. In fact, it's gone beyond that. Last season in Serie B, a 4-point deduction ended up relegating Brescia in 18th. But it got worse as more financial problems meant that they actually got expelled from Serie C. They won't even play in that this year. Devastating news indeed, but there is hope for a revival of Brescia coming back to Serie C. Watch this space. And that's where we come in this alternative reality. Because I'm going to take over Brescia in Serie C, basically starting from scratch like a brand new club. And using the Moneyball approach, we're going to eliminate that debt, get this team back to Serie A, and actually get them making money. So while not being technically a brand new club, we can reshape this squad and team and finances to make it a brand new club. So the first thing I'm going to do is use the editor to install this debt into this club. I do have an updated database, so they have been relegated, so they will start in Serie C. But the finance situation is far better than it is in real life, so we're going to sort this out. A quick Google search showed me the debt, and I was able to implement that into Football Manager, so now we are in big time trouble, just like they are, or were in real life. So I've progressed on a bit. It's now the 11th of August, and you may notice the squad is a lot smaller than it was when I started. That's because everybody out of contract was either let go for free or released, and that included some top senior players that would have been a big part of the season. So what's that done is it's left me with a variety of players that just aren't very good. You can see that by their ability levels, the coach reports. I mean, this guy's going to be my starting right back. And their overall values. It's not great, is it? So for season 1, it could be a real struggle. We won't be making any transfers that demand fees. We might try and get a couple of loans, but they've got to be dirt cheap. Tactically, through pre-season, I went with the 4-3-3 that I like to jump into teams with, but we just didn't look great, so I'm going to have a rethink. I've ended up going with a different type of box formation where I've drew the attacking midfielders back into central midfielders on attack. They might switch to Mazzalas in some games to go wide. The main reason I did this because I've got 2 strikers that are going to be absolutely key. First key player will be Borelli, who's a striker and he's a 6'4" at that. Coaches like him, he's going to be too good for this league, so we need to get the most out of him while he's still with us. It's the same story for Mancini, another striker, and that's why I needed to play a 2-striker tactic. And with an attacking wing back, because Carradi on the left hand side looks perfect. He's got good overall ability levels and he's far too good for us, so he needs to be the focal point of the team. And that's where this tactic and formation came into play. To make the most of the fullback on attack, I've got a halfback on that side. What that means is he'll drop in between these 2 centre-backs or either side of the centre-backs, allowing this guy to play more like a winger. and as games started to take shape you could see it in full flow in the match. Number 21 was the halfback, number 3 way high up now, basically on line with the 2 strikers. So that's working perfectly. In possession, we drop into a back 3 and attack with everybody else. This club and its rebirth status needs changed top to bottom, and you can see that here because I've got literally no coaches, which means the training is done entirely by me. So I've got a super small squad after releasing all those players, and my initial plan was to rely on the development centre and the under 20s and under 18s, but to be frank, these players are pretty terrible. But with finances like this, I'm not buying any players for any money, nor do I want to spend any wage budget. Before the seasons got started, we started to make our first dent in the massive debt by selling a player for over 500,000. 25-year-old Nicolas Galazzi went back to Serie A and he's joined Udinese. That means our journey has begun with our first money brought in. There's a hell of a long way to go though. So like I say, I'm expecting this season to be a bit of a struggle, and I've got a very demanding board. You may have heard of the guy who owns the club. He's a nightmare. So to help me out, I'm going to bring in some loan players from higher up, but I can't spend any money. And I was able to bring in 3 loan players, 2 from AC Milan and 1 from Como. Now look, they're not great, as you can see by their ability levels. There's no actual standouts, but I just need bodies. And the key point is we're not paying any monthly fee nor wages. So Neeson was a centre-back, Bacon's a right-back, and coming in from Como is Manuel Pisano, who will be a striker. All their coach reports are pretty similar. They're not expecting much, but at least we've got some bodies. So potential good news about this squad, the bottom and the top of the pitch are pretty strong. Centre-back wise, I've got Sestana, who's currently out injured with a decent high value, and Papetti. And up front we've got Mancini and Borelli. Borelli, by the way, has started this season like an absolute train. The season started with a couple of cup games, the Serie C Cup, and there's Corrado doing the left wing spot. If I pause it there, you can see what I was talking about in the shape. Number 21 is Fogilata, the halfback, and he's dropped back into like a left centre-back role, which means the left wing-back bombs on, as does the right wing-back. And with those 2 wing-backs high up, they were supplying the bullets for Borelli. So he's played 3 matches and he's scored 5 times. That pie chart is unbelievable. There's no way he can maintain that throughout the season, but it's a hell of a start. And it's been a hell of a start for us. We've won our 2 cup games and we've just won our first Serie C match. There is a long season to go though. With all the players leaving us, we're still 3rd favourites to get promoted. But Serie C is notoriously tough to get out of, with only the first team getting automatic promotion, and then it's a hell of a big playoffs. And every week and every day that goes by, this finance balance just gets bigger in the red, so we need to make moves happen pretty quick. So halfway point of the season, struggle? What a struggle. In the first half of the season, what transpired was assist after assist from the wing-backs and goal after goal from Borelli. At one point I thought I was going to win every match. We have just lost a match and drew one, but still a hell of a first half of the season. We're sitting pretty top of the league by 3 points, but dangerously the finances have got a lot worse. It's nearly double where we started from, nearly 6 million in debt. So look, we've got a super slim squad, but the key players are really performing. Borelli absurdly has maintained that insane form from the first few games of the season. As we got to the end of the season, take a look at the most insane attacking fullback performance I think I've ever seen since I've been doing this style of save. Adam Bacon on loan from Milan. I didn't expect much from him, but he's got 21 assists, and that is absurdly good. Assists through the roof, he's even contributed goals, he's winning headers, he's winning the ball back, and his dribbling is one of the best in the league. On the left hand side, Corrado nearly matched him. From an attacking sense, he definitely did. Not quite as good in defence, but still 21 assists. So that's 42 assists from our attacking fullbacks. The strikers ate it up, 26 from Mancini. Throughout the entire team there was great performances. Midfielders, centre-backs all doing their job perfectly. The last game of the season, Borelli scored his 37th and 38th goals of the season, and that was enough to get us promoted from Serie C. A whopping 98 points with 103 goals, it's a proper dominating performance. But let's be honest, there's a few players here that are probably Serie B standard, so that didn't half help. You can see our dominance here as we're basically top of all metrics: goal scorer, average rating, clean sheets, and joint top of assists. So the new style of box formation completely ate up Serie C, but the big point now is the finances. And as it sits, it's got a hell of a lot worse. We're now 7 million in the red. Prize money for this league is nothing to shout about. So if someone does come in for our star men like Borelli, we still have to sell them, which means I haven't even had a chance to start scouting for players yet. So into Serie B, probably a bit too early to be honest, but it does help with finances, and the goal for this season is to stay in the league and try and get some players sold to eat away at that massive debt. So a new pre-season was underway, and this is getting tricky now because I do like to get players on data, but because we're so skint, my scouting range is minimal. In fact, at the minute I'm only exploring Serie cheap because that's probably the most affordable options. Now in my overview scouting section there are plenty of players coming up, all of free transfers, which is probably where we need to be, but they've either not played at all or they've hardly played any. Therefore, this pre-season I'm relying on my scout reports to try and find me some good players, combined with the ability sections, just trying to work out if they're going to be decent signings. Now the good news is I don't need that many players for a starting 11. A centre-back, a right full-back and an attacking midfielder, and that's probably it. What I do need is players that are capable of filling the bench. That is if all my players don't leave, such as Borelli, because if he leaves it'll be a bit of a disaster. Annoyingly, star centre-back Andrea Sistana was leaving, and even more annoyingly, he was going for free to Saudi. We've missed out on a big transfer fee there. And the absolutely fantastic Adam Bacone, we can't get him again next season. Milan want him to go somewhere else. In better news, I have managed to score some signings that will bulk the squad up big time. Now a lot of these players are youngsters such as Bozalan, so the level they've been playing at is hard to judge. He was playing for the AC Milan youth team, but he does look like he'll be a solid backup player for our left back. And for right back, I managed to get a player in Patrick Suter, who had a really good scout report and should be good for this level, and last season playing in Switzerland, he did pretty well. Other pickups were purely done with the squad in mind, and there was a few with an eye on the future. I planned to bring these boys in and then send them out on loan, but there was time for one more shock signing. Look, I couldn't turn this down. 36-year-old Mario Balotelli is going to come in as an impact sub. Fast forward a month and all those players are locked in, I'm actually quite happy with my starting 11. Although we are expected to struggle in the pre-season odds, down in 14th at 50 to 1, but I just need to survive this season. And in the transfers we paid zero, I will look to get a couple of loans in to bulk up the squad. Annoyingly though, we didn't bring any money in either, as most players just left after their contracts ran out. So we're still left with that one player sale, which has gone up incidentally to 700,000 based on appearances. For some reason, Avatar me looked really depressed about this season, but there was no need to be. Our first away game was a tough looking away game at title favourites Torino, but our system worked perfectly. The left wing back Corrado, who we've managed to keep hold of, bombed forward. With all the other players backing him up, you find Borelli, bang. The onslaught continued, Torino could not deal with us and we got our best performance yet since we took charge. What followed was a stunning start to our debut season in Serie B, only losing a couple of matches. And at the halfway point of the season, we shocked everyone, including myself, by sitting top of the league with 43 points, just clear of Torino. The step up has proved no problem for Borelli, who has 16 goals in 20 matches and he's continued his insane form. As we went into the second half of the season, it was a bit tougher, but we were still doing really well. And the right back we signed from Switzerland, Suter, was having a great season with 13 assists. Problem is, he got injured in March, which has derailed us a bit. He's out for the season. With our attacking play dominated by our fullbacks, that's a huge blow, and you can see here, in almost every metric, he was the best in the league. After a mad 5-5 draw on the last game of the season, we end up finishing third in the table, just 4 points off automatic promotion. It was so close, but we're now jumping to the playoffs. The boys have had a great season with Borelli yet again top scorer with 29. The highest average rating was our boy Suter, followed by our left back, so it shows how dominant them two are in this tactic. In the playoff first round, we comfortably made it past Reggiana with Mario Balotelli scoring his first and only goals for us. He was playing up front because I got a massive injury to our key man. 30-goal striker Borelli got injured in the playoffs, he misses the season. In the playoff final first leg, it was a tight defeat to Frosinone. And in the second leg, we missed our star striker as we had all the chances but couldn't finish the job, losing in the final. Still a massive effort where we were top for most of the season. Bodes well for next year. Chemistry in the team is amazing, especially that midfield, but are we going to be able to keep hold of these players? So we're going to season 3, our second in Serie B. Performances are great, but can we hold on to those key players? Or worst case scenario, sell them for a big profit? Well, the first answer was with Borelli, the prolific striker. And we couldn't do either. We couldn't keep him and we couldn't sell him. He refused to sign a new contract and Cagliari offered him an end of contract deal. Super annoyingly, he's leaving for free. Also leaving for free is young midfield prospect Fogliata. He's played every game for us this season, but he's jumping up to Napoli. With fellow striker Mancini refusing to sign a new deal as well, it looks like I'm going to need a complete new strike force. And again, it's really tough in terms of signing players because we have no scouting range, but I have been able to build myself a shortlist ready for the new season to get players in. In honesty, I'm pretty much relying on the player search. Once the player search is in, I'm then relying on a combination of things to actually check players out. First off, the scout recommendation. That's led me to checking out Kevin Zeroli, a reserve player at Milan. He's a player that can play either defensive midfield or attacking midfield, and he's done really well at the level he's been playing at. Other factors that will influence me going for him are his top line value at 6 million, his abilities, which all look to be in the good range, and of course that extended scout report, which tells me he'll be a good pickup. So using that technique, my shortlist is about 12 or 13 strong, but again, a lot of them just have not played, and some have played but just a very tiny amount, so the scout reports were even more crucial. So using the combination of player search, abilities and scout report, I was able to bring in a good chunk of players. And some of them look good already, like Patrick Peder, centre-back, whose top value is going to be 1.6 million. And it was vital I got those players in because I managed to sell some big-time players. 5.25 million is on the way in. We lost brilliant fullback Corrado to Saudi for 2.5 million. And our day one centre-back Papetti has gone to Genoa for 3.5 million. Which means we've now brought in 6 million and we've wiped that initial debt that we started off with. But I'm not sure what to expect from this season because we're going with the same tactic, but we've got a brand new centre-back pairing and a brand new strike force. Pizarro, a target forward on loan from Udinese, and a complete punt in Iker Bravo, who came in on a free transfer. Coach report is really good, and there must be something about him because he was at Barcelona, Bayer Leverkusen, Real Madrid, and then Udinese. And he started well for us, scoring 2 in 4. Having said that, having lost 4 or 5 key players, our pre-season odds are not pretty. They expect us to struggle. And it looked like the experts might be right as we started the season pretty sloppily and lost 3 matches in a row at one point with amazing player a bit like that. However, once the new players started to settle in, there was a definite change. And Suter down the right hand side continued to be an assist machine. It led to a huge upswing in results after those 3 straight defeats, and quite ridiculously at the halfway point we're top of the league again. And from right back, Suter, who's a pretty average player in terms of his abilities, has 17 assists in 23 matches. Nobody is even close to him in the entire league. Of the new players, Pizarro is doing his best to replace our prolific striker. He's got 1 in 2. And Zeroli, the midfielder we picked up from AC Milan, looks good. I'm getting to grips with having a smaller scouting budget, and the local guys are doing a pretty good job. This is the Serie C results they've came up with, and one of them, Massimo Zilli, would be a great pickup if I can get it over the line. So I've only got them operating in Serie C and Serie B, so it's just a case of shortlisting these guys in case they become available. But the good news is, with all the player sales, we have accomplished one of our goals, and that's to get the club in a better financial position. So the good news was, in the second half of the season, no further players left us. And we didn't drop off that much. We even beat second placed Empoli 6-0 at home. Just one of them games where everything went right. And going into the final game of the season, we've done it, we're Serie A bound, and we've got a chance to win the league. So a win in our last game of the season against Catanzaro would actually give us the Serie B title. I haven't got my first choice team, there's a few injuries, but I'm pretty confident. With time ticking on, frustration was starting to grow, and despite completely battering them, we somehow managed to not win. And Empoli did and took down the title. A bit frustrating, I won't lie. And my boys were top of a lot of the key metrics. Pizarro was a top goal scorer, Suter was a top assist maker, Andy won the most tackles. Overall, this small squad has done us proud big time. I hardly rotated at all. So it's going to be a huge test next season for these boys. A lot of them won't be able to make the step up. And ultra annoying, Pizarro, who's had a cracking season for us, has chose to join Spezia on a free instead of us. Looking around the team, I would like to give some of them a shot at Serie A, but we will need reinforcements. And with that balance starting to creep down, my focus will be to grab some free transfer signings to try and keep us in Serie A and complete this mission. Right, we've cleared the debts, we're way ahead of schedule. What I'm hoping from Serie A is survive, earn some more money, but I don't see a great deal of sellable assets, certainly not to other Serie A teams until they have a go themselves. If they have a good season, then their value might shoot up and we might be able to make some decent money off. I've got 2 gaps in the team that we definitely need to fill, is the defensive midfielder and a new target forward. And with club finances on the way up, it was finally time for me to be able to extend that scouting range. And that means I was finally able to add some recruitment focuses, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do it right now. Before we got to Serie A, all of my scouts were Italian, with only extensive knowledge of Italy. Since then, we've added some new scouts from different nations. First up, Sebastian Lamana, who is an Argentinian with extensive knowledge of South America. So to set his recruitment focus up, this is what we do. We go to minimum current ability and drop that to 1. Minimum potential ability, I'll leave it at 2.5. This just means I get a big broad range of players. Pop in the area, so it's South America, so he's going to cover all of South America. Priority, ongoing. Make sure you do that, otherwise these recruitment focuses will just disappear. And then the assign scout section, untick assign any scouts and choose the guy that you want to send there. Now sometimes straight away he'll come in with some suggestions, or it might take a couple of weeks. I did the same thing with my scout from France, Andrea. mostly because he's got extensive knowledge of areas of Africa as well. So I created an African focus, same way as the South American one. The area is Africa, it's ongoing, change the minimum ability and make sure he is the assigned scout. Now, I've just done that, there's no recommendations yet, sometimes they take a little bit longer, but we'll check back in later on and see what he's came up with. Just this minute I've created the Southeast European one for my scout Goran. Goran's got extensive knowledge of Croatia, Bosnia, Albania, so it seemed like a good area to send him. Exactly the same setup as the other two, and he's actually came back with a recommendation straight away. Only 17 years old, no data to see, but look at his abilities, so he looks like he'll be a good option. When you go to the scout report, because he's got knowledge of him, you can see pretty much what he thinks of him already. So that's my recruitment focuses. We'll focus on those a bit later on when they bring up some more results. In the meantime, I was able to secure a lot of free transfer signings to bulk out the squad for the season. They'll probably mostly start on the bench, but Matteo Pellegrino might be my new starting target forward. He's playing his football in the Spanish second division, but for a target forward, he's got everything I probably need. We're not far from the start of the season in what's going to be a toughie. And you can see that with the pre-season odds, and that has us at 800 to 1. We've moved forward in time a little bit, so I thought I'd show you the recruitment focus and how it's affected things. South America, he's flying. You can see he's got 9 recommendations there, 9 near matches, most of which were just cancelled off because they were too old, and 3 in progress. And you can see the recommendations coming in. So much so that I actually bought and paid money for one of his suggestions. 18-year-old centre-back Rogerio. He already ranks him as a decent Serie A player that could still improve still further. It's been slower progress in Africa, but he is starting to get some now, including a goalkeeper that I've instantly shortlisted, and a centre-back who's playing in Tunisia. And Goran in Eastern Europe has found a ton of players, some from Italy, but an awful lot from completely random places like Collins here. He's playing in Serbia. So what this has allowed me to do is build a shortlist of players for when I have money. And you can see the recommendations down the side. A lot of these players are going to improve my squad no end. At the minute I can't afford them with the transfer budget, but that's not going to stop me building the shortlist maybe for next season. Hopefully that shows you how important this recruitment focus can be. Our landmark first game back in Serie A gave us a shocking 2-2 draw away at Atalanta in a game we very nearly won. It was great to see new signing Pellegrino get off to a great start. And then our next match at home to Monza, we actually won. And then 2 games later, Zeroli against his old club scores the second, helping us beat AC Milan. So a great start, but then things were starting to get tough, really tough. We dropped down to 16th in the league table. We started so well, but now we're in a bit of a slump. Despite that, it's a good time to check out the recruitment focus because I've had a good few months at it now. My South American scout has got an absolute ton of players to choose from, as has Goran in East Europe and more players coming through from Africa. It's our first season back in Serie A and we got abused a few times by some big teams despite playing pretty well against them. At one stage we went 16 matches without a win. I was starting to get a bit worried. Thankfully this win against Spezia, led by Pellegrino scoring another goal, got us out of the mud a bit. We ended the season winning 6 out of our last 11 matches and finishing 16th, but surviving pretty comfortably by 12 points. And that meant the finances were boosted up again, as now we're pretty comfortable. It's pretty clear that the step up was a bit too much to handle for a lot of these players, but there was some standouts. Pellegrino proved to be a good pickup, scoring 12 times. And Zeroli was blooming fantastic, and it'll be hard to keep hold of him. However, the step up for Bravo up front was a bit too much, as he only scored 5 times. Overall, it's a Serie B team that survived in Serie A, but there are plenty of areas for improvement. But at the end of the day, we did it. We got Brescia back to Serie A, and more importantly, got them financially secure. So we accomplished our initial goal, get Brescia back to Serie A and wipe out that debt and get them actually running like a proper football club. Question now is, can we get them that little bit higher? Because of our super financial secure status, we can actually afford to get into that shortlist and bring some better players in. And we probably need to, as the Serie A pre-season odds are even worse this season at 1,000 to 1. First off the African shortlist, I took 2 players from that. First off, midfielder Abdoulaye wins the ball back and his tackle percentage is really good and he doesn't lose it either. My scout in Africa absolutely loved him. He joins the club for a measly 140,000. Also coming in from Africa is goalkeeper Emmanuel Oche, 16 clean sheets last season and rated better than our current goalkeepers. A new number 1 goalkeeper for 200,000 From the South American shortlist, Franco Gonzalez, a midfielder who can play either in defensive midfield or a more attacking version. And we've got ourselves a new striker coming in from La Liga 2 in Simeone, who scored 21 goals last season, and his record overall means he's a goal getter. More players coming from the recruitment focus in Berezovsky and Josipovic from Eastern Europe, and bringing back Adam Baconi after that stunning season he had for us, and bringing in 9 players at a combined value of 550,000 is pretty good business. It means we look a lot more solid now, and I've got a lot of options in midfield, and thanks to that recruitment focus, my squad is packed. Season 2 in Serie A was a pretty tough one, but we did pretty well. Highlight of the season was undoubtedly this 6-0 away victory against Lazio. In this one, Pellegrino really came to the fore and he bagged a hat-trick in what was a great season for him personally. He finished with 20 goals in 39 matches and was the second top scorer in Serie A. He was helped by a completely different type of striker performance from Simeone, playing as a pressing forward, look at the pressures attempted, played more like a defensive midfielder, wild. Late in the season we changed things up a little bit, just experimenting. We finished the season with a 4-3-3, but overall great progress was made as Brescia are now comfortably a top half team, finishing 9th. And still rock solid in terms of finance. So Brescia and their beautiful stadium are back. Hopefully they can mirror this in real life. Today I'm trying something I've never tried yet. I'm going to combine Moneyball and attributes. To do this we're going to London, the Premier League and Fulham. So this will give us a unique insight because we're going to be able to judge players on their attributes but also how they perform using data. Will the two combine to create a monster team or will it just not level out? So this will be an interesting journey. Here we are with Fulham. Now Fulham are owned by the Khan family. It's got Tony Khan registered as the director of football, and that's interesting because he actually owns an analytics company that covers a wide range of sports. So he's going to love what we're doing here. So if you do see this Tony Khan, I am available for a real life job. So here is the Fulham squad. We are using an updated database that you may have seen a couple of videos ago. So this is as up to date as it gets, and it's quite a small squad. Now the difference is we aren't used to seeing this in recent videos, but we can actually see attributes. So from day one we can make a decent guide on what players to choose for our tactic. But we will be jumping in between both skins. So I will jump to the Musterman skin. And just like that, at the end of the season, we'll be able to analyse our players' performance and, more importantly, players that we might potentially sign. So in theory, we should have all the tools we'll possibly need to build an extraordinary team. Having said that, season 1 will be based on what I've got here and the attributes of the players. So what I won't be doing is bringing anybody in for season 1. However, I do plan to build my scouting team and start to shortlist players that have caught my eye that we can judge at the end of the season. Speaking of the staff, we don't have any. We've only got 2 out of 7 coaches and we've only got 3 out of 10 scouts. So we need to build that up as well. When I started to think about the tactic, I had a look at the club vision first, and the Khan family want me to play attacking football with possession-based football as well. So I started thinking about my tactic. I knew what I wanted. I wanted a ball-playing goalkeeper to dish the ball out. I definitely wanted a couple of attacking fullbacks. They're going to be vital because they're going to have to do a bit of overlapping. Now, in central defence, they're going to have a couple of ball-playing defenders. And in front of them, I want an anchor man, so I don't want him to drift too far forward. I kind of want him to hold his position in front of those 2 centre-backs. Midfield, this is where the creativity that the Khans asked for is going to come in. Probably going to go double Mazzala so they can get forward and drift wide. The 2 wide positions are going to be slightly different. This side's going to have an inside forward, so I basically want him to play as a wide striker, backing up the main striker, so he's going to spend most of his time in there. On the other side, combo of winger and cutting inside, so inverted winger, so he can combine with the left fullback. And up front, I'm going to choose a pressing forward to put pressure on the entire back line. So we've got ourselves a 4-3-3, but hopefully it's attacking enough for the Khans. So in FM, I translated it into this setup here. The 2 midfielders will be Mazzalas that will just drift around a little bit. Inverted winger on one side, so he can act as a winger sometimes, but also cutting in. Inside forward, who basically play like a wide striker in there. Attacking mentality, because that's what the board want. I do have another version which is a back 5 like that with a libero who will step forward, so I'm toying with that one, but let's play it safe first, go with a creative looking 4-3-3. So the Premier League, it's all updated there. You can see Sunderland and Burnley and Leeds, and that leaves us as a season preview of 12th. So down in 12th, just under mid-table for our first season. Bear in mind we're not bringing in any players, so that might not be the worst result if we do hit that. As we got to the start of the season, I'd started bulking my staff out. I've got a couple more coaches to get and quite a few more scouts, but we have started to make progress. This has meant with world knowledge we are getting there now, but there's still some areas I'd like to complete so we can really drill down into these recruitment focuses. But I have started to build a small shortlist. It will get bigger as the season goes on, but I'll be interested to see how these players look come the end of the season when we change that skin. The season started well with a comprehensive victory over Newcastle. We only had one shot. And a loss to Aston Villa, but we really should have got something from that. But things really started to tick in our next match away at Burnley, and this team shape was pretty much what I was looking for. When I pause it there, you can see that's the right wing back flying forward. And here, Reed is the anchor man. Number 11, close to the striker, is Adama, so that's what I'm looking for, a really wide striker. Fullback gets nice and high. He's going to be backed up shortly by one of the Mazzalas. Here he comes. Now the other Mazzala has got himself into the box, which is what I want. He's backing up the striker. Adama finds Pereira, the Mazzala, and he finds his Mazzala mate Iwobi. Lovely stuff. The match finishes 5-0 against newly promoted Burnley, and we absolutely battered them. In fact, that was a theme as we won a string of matches in a row. We've only just started to lose a couple of games now. And quite surprisingly, at the midway point of the season, my God, we're sitting second. We've lost 5 matches, but we just don't draw any games. So Tony Khan, being an American, will love that. They don't deal in draws. It's win or bust. So far, it's been a bit of a team effort with no one really standing out. Our top scorer and best player so far has been Andreas Pereira, playing in midfield as a Mazzala. In fact, let's take a look at his performance. As we flip to the Musterman skin, we can see his attacking midfield performance has been pretty much perfect. It backs up his goals and assists tally. His expected assists are fantastic. He's getting goals, he's getting shots away. He's even putting a decent shift in defensive aspects like possession won, and he's won 82% of his tackles. Looking at this skin, it might help me build up my shortlist for the new season to see what areas we could potentially improve, because despite our good overall performance, I think there is areas that some players can improve. For example, although my centre-backs are both good on the ball, we're not exactly winning many headers, so a physical team who go for crosses might cause us some problems. So it's midway through the season, so I thought I'd have a little look at some of the shortlisted targets to see how they're progressing. Now, Bafode Diakite could be an option at centre-back, although he is also not winning many headers. However, his overall performance is pretty fantastic. Joey Veerman at PSV, whether he's playing as a defensive midfielder or an attacking midfielder, looking pretty good. And so far, the Khan family are rightfully delighted with the way things are going. So things are quite obviously way ahead of schedule. We've got ourselves a good tactic and a good first 11. The squad is paper thin though. It'll be interesting to see if we can keep this going till the end of the season. Or will the team and my master plan fall off a cliff? Right, second half of the season, we got all the way to the FA Cup semi-final versus Southampton and disappointingly lost. What a great opportunity. But there were still some great performances, including a late win away at Manchester City. And remember, we made no signings, so we did drop off a bit because our squad's pretty small. Arsenal beat us on the last day of the season. In fact, they stole it. And that ended up costing us a Champions League spot as we finished 5th in the table, but I'm still delighted with that. And importantly, so are the Khans. And to be fair, they've upped the transfer budget. It currently sits at 84 million. I hope it holds for the next season. Because although the season was impressive, I do need a bigger squad, especially with Europe in mind. There's obviously no way I'm changing the tactic because it seemed perfectly fit for the Fulham squad. But now it's time to see who actually played well and who was a bit of a passenger. So most of the season, that was my first choice 11. I mean, if you look at the bench, I can't even fill it. I've got 9 on the bench, 11 overall in the team. So 20-man squad is pretty tight for a full season. I'll start up front. Raul Jimenez did pretty well. He scored 20 goals for us in 43 matches. So his performance overall is pretty good. But at 33 years old, I will be looking for a younger striker because the pressing forward position's pretty tough. On the left-hand side, Smith Rowe did pretty well. I'd like more from an attacking output, but he did put a lot of pressure on opposition fullbacks, so not bad. On the other side was Harry Wilson. He's probably not a natural inside forward, more of a winger, so that might be a position we can look to improve. Because if he's playing as a wide striker, I need more than 7 goals in 45 appearances. My central midfield two were pretty good. Alex Iwobi on the left-hand side of central midfield with 10 goals. And considering he's playing as an attacking midfielder, it's really good possession loss. He's not giving the ball away much. He's winning it back decent. Tackles one's quite low though, and we could probably do with more assists coming in. Next to him, however, Pereira, really good. 13 goals, 12 assists, so 25 goal involvement in 41 matches, and his overall pie chart is really good. He's even putting pressure on opposition. So far I've freed up 3 places. Those 3 players will still be an option, but they're more likely to be on the bench next season. In defensive midfield, I rotated 2 players. The first was Harrison Reed. He's progressing the ball pretty decent and not giving it away. He's not winning the ball back, but you've got to remember he's an anchor man, so he's just kind of sitting and not really applying pressure. The other man to play there was Sander Berge, and he played slightly better. He's given me a more complete defensive midfield performance, so he'll probably start next season. Now my fullbacks, they're vital to this team because they're supplying most of the width, and no surprise, overall they're two of my better players, although I need more assists from the left back Anthony Robinson. But defensively superb, winning the ball back and 82% tackles won. I just want more assists, and we are getting that from the right hand side through Kenny Tete. He's got 10 assists, so he's doing better going forward. That might be due to the roles in front of them. We've got an inside forward here, so Tete basically plays right down the right hand side, whereas Robinson, sometimes he'll just stick there because in front of him Smith Rowe can still act like a winger and stay wide. My centre backs are an interesting case. They're good on the ball. I am asking them to bring the ball out, so the dribbles are good, they're passing it well, passes completed is fine. But that headers won might be a bit of a concern. If one of them was winning more headers it wouldn't be, but they're both around the same level, so I might need a dominating centre back to play with one of them. At the minute I will keep that back four in place. I'm just going to have a look to see if there's any options that may improve it. Goalkeeper Bernd Leno, I've got no complaints. He was really good, only conceding 32 with 26 clean sheets in 46 matches, and he's preventing goals as well. So really I'm looking for 3 starters definitely, and maybe a 4th in defence, but we don't have to do a load of work because remember we did finish 5th in the league table above teams such as Spurs, Arsenal, Newcastle and Manchester United, and we have broke our Premier League record to finish 5th in the table. Previously it was 7th. And now I've gone to work on bulking out that scouting team because I want the best choice of players we can get. I want the whole world covered as best I can, including Scandinavia. In fact, as many different places as we can get. I mean, season 1, that's a great season with Fulham, way above expectations. I'm excited now to see, knowing that we've got a good base squad, what type of players we can bring in using the Musterman skin, focusing on data, combining with attributes to try and get ourselves a Champions League squad. That's the goal. Okay, the first thing I wanted to get sorted was my scout team. I've now got 10 out of 10 scouts, so a full scouting team, and more importantly, they are from all over the place. So the theory is now I've got a scout team from all over the place that will have a good knowledge of various nations. What that has allowed me to do is set up recruitment focuses for pretty much everywhere. I've got Italy specific, Austria, North America, Brazil, East Europe, a couple of African nations because that's where the scouts specialise, Colombia there. Then we've got the more obvious ones like our league, the league below, and some big nations in Europe. I've only just set these up, but some of them are throwing players up already, like the North American search and Austria, whereas some will take a little bit longer, such as the African one, but we'll keep a track of that progress. But it has allowed me to increase my shortlist now, ready to go for this pre-season squad build. And there is some players already on the way, and I've made a move for another. First up, new striker in Fostis Ioannidis from Panathinaikos. He's got a decent attribute range, pretty steady, finishing good, composure good, outstanding, bravery, and remember he's probably going to play as a pressing forward, so his aggression needs to be good, and his work rate, all those boxes are ticked. Now, as far as his performance, he's been pretty good for a striker. He's getting a load of shots away per match. He's got a good non-penalty expected goal ratios. His assists are good, and I'm enjoying his pressures attempted. Scout Report likes him. I think he'll be a decent player to rotate with Raul Jimenez. Speaking of Scout Reports, that was the main driver for this signing of Pablo Maia from Brazilian football. He's going to be coming in from Santos. He's only played 18 matches. His statistics aren't outstanding, and this is where the combination of using attributes and data can come in handy, because his attributes for a defensive midfielder, specifically the anchorman role, are really good. Outstanding at marking and positioning, which is absolutely vital, is also elite. Now I do have a bid in for Shazgard. Shazgard. Remember, I'm looking for an inside forward for this position, one that can score, so his goals ratio is good. Data. There you see it. For an out-and-out goal scorer, he's pretty good. He's getting loads of shots away. He wins a ton of headers because he's a big lad. Whether he's playing as a striker or an attacking midfielder, he's going to score goals for us. So I've got a bid in for him. 15 million. We'll see if I can get that one over the line. So with those signings, that's potentially 2 slots of the 3 priority signings we've got covered. We still need another option for Mazzala, and I still would like an extra centre-back. Although that could be in-house with Calvin Bassey, who didn't get much of a game last season. When he did play, it was mostly at left-back, so maybe I don't. Especially when you look at his attributes. Heading 15, strength for days, jumping reach is good. Maybe the answer is actually at the club. As far as the Mazzala goes, I am going to take my time, but one of the scouts in North America did throw up Alan Rodriguez as an A star. Now, he can play as the inside forward, which is tempting, but he can also play central midfield as that Mazzala. I'm also actually considering a move for Harry Maguire, but at 6 million for a 31-year-old, his wages might rule us out of that. back to the potential Mazzala. What is it I'm looking for from this Mazzala? Basically, I want a clone of Pereira, who has been fantastic this season. So what's made him so good in terms of his data? His expected assists are fantastic. He comes in with 12 assists. So somewhere in the range of 0.2 to 0.3 would be fantastic. And he's getting goals as well at 0.33. So those are the two things I'd probably look for in recommendations. I've got limited data on Alan Rodriguez so far, but his expected assists are in that range. So while my scouts are doing their magic, I thought I would have a look myself. Just looking for assists per 90 minutes at that ambitious 0.30. Making sure they've played at least 1,000 minutes. And he's thrown up some interesting results. Edward Spetzian definitely deserves a closer look. If I look at him as an attacking midfielder, he's got expected assists at 0.32, but he does have a limited scout report. So I'm going to have a look at his attributes now. So to make sure this was still a challenge, I left attribute masking on. So I've just got a range, but as you can see from his range, some key things, such as his passing at 15, off the ball's good, dribbling's good, crossing's decent. He definitely deserves a further scout report. There are some other options that intrigue me as well, available for knockdown fees, including some players that I've never came across that definitely warrant further inspection. Deep into pre-season with signings still ongoing, I did notice our 5th place finish in the Premier League had actually given us a Champions League spot. There's an extra spot and we've got it, which meant increasing the size of this squad was now essential. And we got those moves over the line to help us out. Pablo Maya comes in from Sao Paulo for 13 million. Ioannidis from Panathinaikos for 14. Bertsian came in for 12. Miguel Beza for a bargain 3.6. And Jasgard for 15. It meant going into the new season, the first 11 probably will look something like that, but we've got so many good players now we can rotate all over the place. Despite last season's performance and our improved squad, they still reckon we're going to finish 12th this season. 350 to 1. The club vision hadn't changed, attacking football, possession football, high tempo pressing football, but Tony and Shad Khan seemed really happy going into season 2. And I think they were further pleased when I brought in 43 million for reserve right back Timothy Castagnier. And he was replaced by 2.3 million signing Del Preto, basically the perfect utility player to cover the right back slot. So 66 million spent, 39 million recouped, the squad is ready to go for this season. First game of the season was a 7-goal thriller against Villa. Debut goals for Ioannidis and Maya gave us a deserved win. But then Erling Haaland scored a double hat-trick as Man City beat us 7-2. Despite us having more shots, Bernd Leno had a nightmare. The tough start continued with a defeat by Liverpool, but we did get a good draw against Arsenal. At the midway point of the season, it's a lot tougher than last year as we sit 9th, but we do have a game in hand. However, the Champions League has gone pretty well for our debut season. We've only lost one game, that was away to Club Brugge, and currently we sat in 13th with 3 wins from our 6 matches. Ioannidis has started fantastic for us, he scored 14 times in 25 matches. And overall his striker performance has been exactly what I was looking for. Although some of the other new signings have struggled a bit, Spurtsan in midfield hasn't looked great. However, Jagard playing as an inside forward is exactly what I was looking for, getting me goals 9 in 25. It's a new country for Pablo, I'm slowly bedding him into the team and as you can see he's starting to pay off. He doesn't lose the ball and he's winning the ball back well. It's a good performance from an anchorman. And Pereira continues to be fantastic. He's out injured at the minute, which is a massive blow. We're actually playing really well and the results haven't done us justice. A lot of the players have stepped up this season, so it appears we are somewhat victims of our own success. Those extra Champions League fixtures have thrown a spanner in the works a little bit. So our second half of the season in Season 2 was a bit of a disaster as we lost 5 Premier League games in a row. We did make it through to the Champions League knockouts where we played Monaco and it went all the way to a penalty shootout. Unfortunately, Brazilian youngster Pablo missed, and we went out on penalties. Following that, we did turn our fortunes around and finish the season really strongly. The only thing I changed was dropping the mentality back to just positive. And we got ourselves a very respectable 6th place finish, qualifying for Europe next season. Of the new signings, the star man was Fotis Ioannidis, who bagged 17 goals in the Prem, and our boy Maritz on the inside forward position, he bagged 11. It's going to be tough to hold on to him. And a really exciting debut season from Pablo Maya from Brazil. But we didn't hit it out of the park every time, some of them did struggle. But overall delighted with the progress we are making. Looking closer at some of the performances from the new boys, there's Pablo playing in the anchor position, who doesn't lose the ball but wins it back. And I'm not expecting a lot of pressures because he holds his position. A good season. And that, for an inside forward, is as good as you're going to see. Areas improvement, I think Smith Rowe could improve despite 13 assists on the left hand side, but both fullbacks stepped up this season with Robinson now getting the assists that I wanted from him. The big drop off this season was goalkeeper Bernd Leno, who at 33, great on the ball but he wasn't doing his main job. In January I actually cashed in on even more players, bringing in 84 million in total. So that means for the new season I've got plenty to spend. And with all these recruitment focuses, there's going to be a big batch of players to try and improve this squad still further. So that's a 5th place finish and a 6th place finish. I think the Cans are reasonably happy, especially after achieving those 2 league positions by turning a profit. We've spent 73 million, but we brought in 88. For next season, I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. I'm going to move Smith Rowe into a Mazzala position. He's been good, but not great out wide. So in that position, I'm going to go for a more traditional winger and move him to the creative midfield role. I've got the other positions that I know I want to improve in mind. So join me for part 2 as we see just how far we can push Fulham, using the unique combination of data analytics and traditional attributes. Last time on the Fulham Save, we created ourselves a super fluid 4-3-3. After analysing the players with a combination of data and attributes, we identified targets, built the scout team, came close in the Champions League, and had a pretty successful time. So today we look to push on and get Fulham into that top 4. Is it the impossible dream? So welcome back. I guess the first big news is we have ourselves a new skin. So this is the WTCS Gold skin. Link will be in the description. And the reason I've chose this is because it gives us our attributes. And when I press this analyst tab, it also gives us that infamous pie chart of data. So now we've got the best of both worlds. So I don't have to flip between both. So I can judge players on attributes and on the data as well. And if you're more of a bar chart person, it's got them as well for you. So last time I said I was going to use Smith Rowe as a Mazzala, and I still am. At the minute, I'm going to give Traore a little go out wide. Now, Adama has not been a regular for me, as you can see from his past history there. He's 22 in 17 games, mostly off the bench. His average rating is actually pretty good. And when you look at his data, like I have done now, his expected assists are through the roof. That is absolutely fantastic. So he's probably worth giving a go from the start. So when I was looking to strengthen this team for next season, the only real position I feel is desperately needed is a new goalkeeper. There's Bernd Leno. His value is still massive at 36 million despite being 33, so I've slapped him on the transfer list. That's because last season he just wasn't preventing goals. He had a massive drop off from the season before, so I think the time is right to cash in. A reminder on what happened last season: we ended up finishing 6th in the table, so we'll be in the Europa League next season. We didn't get any success really in any of the competitions. We had a good run in the Champions League, but got knocked out on penalties by AS Monaco. This is the good reminder why it is vital to do your shortlisting at the end of the season when all those data metrics are still active. And I use these recruitment focuses to help us now. They've been at it a good while now. The guy in Italy is coming up with some monster targets. Obviously, you'll always get some from the Premier League. And interestingly, we might hit jackpot with the North American and South American scouts. Now, this will be a signing based on scout reports rather than data. This is Rayan, who is only 18 years of age. Don't get me wrong, his data analysis is pretty good. He's playing as an attacking midfielder or sometimes a striker, but he has only played 6 games, so it's based on potential here. If you go to his scout reports, you can see the amount of pros he's got. The main one that struck a balance was the fact that he's going to be available for just 14 million, can play in a couple of positions, he's pacey, and then when you actually look at his attributes, for an 18-year-old with the potential to grow even further, those physicals are outrageous. So he's on the way in. It only costing me 14 million, deal done. That same approach led me to Ethan Nwaneri. Arsenal just have not gave him a look in, and unlike real life have made him available for loan, but I took it a step further and have sealed the transfer. And with all these pros, it's really not hard to see why. Add to the fact he can play in numerous positions. He could either fill that outside slot or as an attacking Mazzala. And look at these attributes already. He's coming in for 4.4 million. That's got to be an absolute snip. Also coming in was one of my favourite ways to bring in players was the old expiring in 6 months tab. In came Hassam Ouar, free transfers from Saudi Arabia. He's had a good couple of seasons there. We haven't got full data on him because we don't scout that area, but the main ones I was looking at, expected assists, is blooming great. Add to that the attributes for a free transfer, that's a no-brainer. The next free transfer was Zizo, supplied to me by my African scout. He's came in from Egyptian football last season with an absolutely fantastic attacking midfield performance. So he's a current international, he's got a good attribute range, fantastic technique, he can fill any of the slots in midfield or out wide. No brainer again for a free transfer. But the next one is the headline grabber. It's a new striker in Ivan Toney. Toney spent 2 seasons in Saudi Arabia, scoring a whopping 40 goals. Great performance in terms of his analysis last season, and of course he's got great attributes He joins on a free transfer. I've got 2 great strikers now. So I talked about replacing Bernd Leno. And before I introduce the new signing, here's his pie chart. Check that out. He keeps clean sheets, he stops goals going in, and he's not bad with the ball at his feet. Attributes are really good solid range. I love his scout report, consistent, enjoys big matches, organises defence. Our new #1 goalkeeper is Bento, coming in from Saudi Arabia. And the best thing about this deal is it's cost me 6 million after performances. An absolute bargain. So at this stage of pre-season, I've got 6 players coming in. And it's only going to cost me 17.5 million. So the squad's going to grow, but I do have European competition to contend with next season. So things were going well in terms of targets, but now I wanted to focus on getting rid of some players as well, because I want to balance the books as best we can. And I was delighted to get rid of Bernd Leno. He was great in season 1, but 33 million for a 33-year-old was outrageous business. There was also a clutch of other players that left us for about 4.6 million, so we're bringing in that money again. And I did have time to sign one more bargain. Axel Disasi from rivals Chelsea for just 13 million. This guy is a physically dominating centre-back, so if you have any problems at centre-back, he can jump straight in. And we're keeping track of this, so we've brought in 111 million now, and we've sold 121. Yeah, the family is still going to be buzzing with that. So we had high hopes for the oncoming season after we went perfect in the friendlies, including big wins against Ajax and Napoli. And we made a fine start to the season with a 1-1 away draw at Old Trafford with Tony bagging the penalty. We followed this up with a big 4-0 win against Nottingham Forest at home. And we got a really good draw away at Anfield. The way the 4-3-3 was shaping up this season, we really did play wide with the Mazzalas really floating around into the wider areas, leaving Pablo just to hold down the fort in the middle. You can see that in this defeat to Manchester City. It was a close game, but that's kind of the way we play. Number 12 is our anchor man. All the other guys kind of interchange with each other out wide. And in the Europa League against Atalanta, you can kind of see that here as Pablo in central midfield starts to move off, finds the Mazzala, and it ends up with Ivan Toney scoring. One of our best performances of the season, especially in the Europa League, as we batter one of the fancied teams 4-1. However, the distraction of Europe was getting in the way a bit, and by the mid-winter break, we dropped off a little in the league. We're still in the ballpark, but we're in our usual slot in and around 7th. So we've been good in Europe, but in the league we were dropping off a bit, and I was just seeing worrying signs. Last season, Anthony Robinson was really good down the left-hand side, but this season, from an attacking perspective, it dropped off quite alarmingly. Things were slightly better on the right-hand side with Kenny Tete, but even Andreas in central midfield had just dropped off slightly. Second half of the season, we did improve a bit. But really our season was summed up by these 4 matches. We somehow lose at home to Brentford and then get destroyed by struggling Everton, but then we destroyed West Ham and then beat high-flying Arsenal. So we've got 1 game left and it is against Chelsea. The winner of that will decide who finishes 5th, but we're guaranteed to finish at least 6th. But the big news was coming via the Europa League, because this was the competition we flew in as we battered teams left, right and centre and ended up in the semi-finals against our old friends Monaco. And this 1-1 draw was enough to send us through to the final. And in that final, we're going to come up against Atalanta, the team that we battered earlier on. I've got high hopes. Going into the final, the team was looking something like this. The experiment to play Smith Rowe and Mazzala didn't really work, so I've tried him as an advanced playmaker out wide. In honesty, he's had a pretty frustrating season. He's good, but he should be so much better when you look at his actual attributes and the way he should be performing. He's frustrating me. It's been a pretty solid opening season for Wanyeri for us. I'm looking forward to seeing him kick on next year. And young Brazilian Rayan has also had plenty of game time, looking good. Yet again, Jagad at inside forward has been our standout man. But elsewhere in the team, the signs of drop-offs are starting to come. It's something I will assess at the end of the season. They're still playing well, but there might be room for improvement. On the positives though, we have got ourselves a good goalkeeper in Bento. So soon, shortlisting for the new season will commence. But first, this final against Atalanta. Now Atalanta, despite what happened in the first match, are a really good side. However, we did absolutely batter them. But they did take the lead in extra time, 105 minutes gone. Thankfully, we did get what we deserved though, and it took it to penalties. We started pretty well in these, and Atalanta did not. With new goalkeeper Bento coming up trumps, it was left to Pablo to redeem himself and score the winning penalty. And that means we give Fulham a huge trophy in the Europa League. I can't really complain about winning the Europa League, a great season overall, but for us to push on to the next level, we might need to make some tough decisions about some of our players. As it stands in this journey, we've finished 6th, 6th and 5th. We really need to push on somehow in the league and break that top 4. To do that, I was looking at my team and how we could improve. Robinson has been great for us the last couple of seasons as an attacking fullback, but last year he just didn't give us enough. Now, a player I do have at the club that I haven't used enough, really, is Ryan Sessegnon. He's a more attacking player who can play as high up as a winger, but I'm thinking I'm going to take advantage of his ability to play as a winger and make him my new attacking fullback. This is backed up when you look at his data. He's only started 5 matches, but he's got plenty of minutes and he does seem to be perfect in an attacking sense. So he's going to be my first choice left back this season. Robinson will drop down to the bench. That's a big risk. On the right hand side, I'm also going to look for a more attacking option. Again, quite harsh on Kenny Tete. He's done nothing wrong. I'm just looking to get to that next level. Speaking of harsh, this man has been the backbone of the team since we started this save, but I've just noticed a drop off, and it's important when you're doing saves not to get too attached to players, and when they start to drop, replace them. So I'll be looking for a new Mazzala as well. And despite how good he should be, I need someone to put pressure on Emile Smith-Rowe. So this position is very much in the balance. I'm going to look for someone to jump in there to potentially start. Hitting up my recruitment team, they came up trumps again. When I went to the American search, Talles Magno at New York City FC in the MLS. Now, there's a few things why I'm looking at this guy. First off, his value is very achievable. 3.7 to 5.6, and we don't spend a lot of money. Perfect. Attribute range, really good. Dribbling's fantastic. He's got good first touch. Technique, flair. He's been on loan in Brazilian football as well, which is what they got alerted to. And look at the goal return he's given. And his data analysis backs that up. My Italian scout recommends attacking midfielder Adrian Bernabei. Here's a player with great pedigree. Learned at Barcelona and City before making the move to Parma. You've got to remember he's playing for one of the teams that isn't one of the top teams, and he had a decent return in whatever position he played. I'm going to do some more scouting to really get to grips with these attributes, but on the surface of things he looks really good. Now look, my scouts are recommending some players I'd love to have, but the facts are I'm not spending 29 to 43 million. I'm trying to keep this on the low side, but my Spanish scout has found me another good centre-back option in Logan Costa. That's a great pie chart for a centre-back. Now look, he hasn't played much, but he is only 25. His physicals are absolutely fantastic. 6'3", good in the air, and a very decent valuation as well. And the good news was I was able to lock those transfers down. Logan Costa came in for us for 13.5 million from Villarreal. We got the Talles Magno in for 6.75 million. Think that'll be a bargain. Bernabei came in from Parma for 12. And then the big signing. I purchased Pepe for our biggest transfer fee yet. Now, he came from Man City, hardly played there, 18.5 million. As you can see, he's an attacking winger, but I am absolutely going to play him as our new attacking fullback. It is a risk because he's more of a winger than a fullback, but if we're going to break this top 4, I think it's what we need to do. That means I've got my business done early and our squad is packed. The team will probably look something like this, although I do have a second option where we can get 2 strikers involved. The only position in real doubt is this one. Smith-Rowe, Magno will fight to the death. We're at the midpoint of the season now, and we have had a great start to the season, which I'll show you shortly. But first, we did get rid of some more players. And the players we got rid of amounted to 38.5 million. They were all just squad players, some we've made a profit on, some just did not work out, like Zizou. It does mean we've spent 164 million and brought in 159, so we've only kind of spent 5 million. And we're in the Champions League this season, and I knew we were going to have a decent season when Ranieri gave us a victory away at AC Milan. We also drew at home to PSG in a game that we were unlucky not to win. And at the halfway point of the season, in the Champions League, we're undefeated and sitting second only behind Man City. Speaking of Man City, this shows where we're at now as we beat them at home 2-0. Ivan Toney with the first and Talles Magno came up trumps to score the second. A big win and a deserved one as well against the Man City team who have Haaland and Gyökeres up front. Talles Magno has just started to get himself into the team as a starter, and as you can see, he is producing big time. As are the whole team. It's been a wonderful first half of the season, like we said. And after 20 matches, we're actually sitting top of the Premier League by 4 points from Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool and City. Some big standouts have included Ranieri, who is starting to blossom big time. I mean, that is a mad decision by Arsenal to give us him for 4 million. Of the new players, Bernabei's came into the team as well with his assists absolutely through the roof. He's supplied 9 in 18 matches so far. And the risk at fullback by replacing both seems to have paid off. Pepe, as the attacking fullback's done really well, as has given the start to Sessegnon. He's got 12 assists this season, leading the league. And the top scorer at this stage of the season is not Ivan Toney, it's actually Jagard as the inside forward. And getting 4.46 shots away per match is a big factor in that. He's now a natural in this position. When he first came to the club, he wanted to be a shadow striker, but we've retrained him here, played him there. Now he is elite. Never get too big for your boots in this game as we crash out of the FA Cup to lower division Sheffield Wednesday. And then this defeat by West Ham meant 3 league defeats in a row. But then we got the biggest result in Fulham's history as we went to the new camp and beat Barcelona. And that seemed to wake us up in the Premier League as we got our form back pretty much straight away. With 4 games to go, we're definitely breaking that top 4, but we have a chance to do the unthinkable and win the Premier League. Problem is that run-in's pretty disgusting. Arsenal, Chelsea, City and a final day game against Everton at the Cottage. So undefeated in the league phase of the Champions League, we drew Barcelona in the round of 16, losing 2-1 this time at the new camp despite playing really well. In the second leg at the Cottage, Barcelona ripped us to bits in the first half. They've got an elite team, there's Musiala playing for them, and before I knew it, we were 4-0 down, and it was only 43 minutes gone. So after some stern words at half time, the boys came out of the blocks, finally. 10 minutes into the second half, we'd already scored 2 back. And after 76 minutes, we were there again. This was some effort. That free kick made it 4-4, but we just ran out of time, but what a comeback. And he hasn't been a regular this season, but it was great to see Pereira there with a massive influence. But then it was the crucial match against Man City, who had a ton of games in hand. City's all-star team came out of the blocks, capitalising on a mistake. We were really sleepy here. Before I knew it, it was 2-0. But then after 20 minutes, everything changed. For some reason, Jack Grealish did this. Got himself a straight red card, and the fight back began. When there's space to play in, we are deadly. And we even scored a 5th late on. Through former player Pepe. A stonking win at the Etihad, which was absolutely vital because going into the last game of the season, it's between us and City for the Premier League. We haven't had a great run since February really, lots of draws, but we've just managed to stay ahead. And now, it's the last game of the season against Everton, a team that has previously beaten us. We were nervous, but after 8 minutes, we needn't have been as Ivan Toney gave us the lead with a looping header. Just 2 minutes later, we found our flow again, combining beautifully to give us a 2-0 lead. Something was going on here. After 16 minutes, we went 3-0 up. Sorry, make that 4 after 20. What is going on? We were playing some beautiful stuff, playing out from the back, Anderson driving forward, finds our new playmaker Bernabé. He finds Magno, another through ball to Ivan Toney, 5-0 after 22 minutes. Half time it was 6. Ian Hardy's put in the 8th from a penalty spot. We scored another, making it 9, and unbelievably, Fulham, Premier League champions. That is a beautiful sight. The team of the year was dominated by us with 6 players making it in, and I was really happy that our risk of taking on 2 attacking fullbacks was the right move, along with bringing in Bernabé. From an attacking point of view, he had just the season I was looking for, with 15 assists. The high wage move for Toney proved the right move as he scored 28 times this season. And what an impact in his first season from Talles Magno. And this fullback data is just what you want to see for an attacking wingback style. 13 assists from Pepe, and even better from Sessegnon with 18 assists. And Bento signed for 6 million, great performance, now valued at 50 plus. Unsurprisingly, a lot of those players are now wanted by other teams. So it was a tight season, we won the league, we deserved to, but we did get quite fortunate in the fact that some of the bigger teams did lose a rake of matches. But when you look deep into the metrics, we did deserve it. Look at open play key passes, for example. Our players are dotted around all over the place. And Bernabé, second place in key passes per 90, just behind Cole Palmer. I mean, I could go on and on. There's our keeper Bento stopping goals as well. And as a footnote, if you do come to use an anchorman, that's what you want to see. Progressive passes is his job. Get it, give it. Perfect. So great success with Fulham. We take down the Premier League after 4 seasons and we've done it on a decent budget. Big factor was the attributes, being able to see them, so we get success a little bit quicker than you would normally with just data. And of course, creating that 4-3-3 killer tactic, which is in Patreon, didn't half help. Oh, and by the way, we are closing in on 30,000 subscribers now. So if you haven't already and you enjoy this style of Football Manager and all the other stuff we do, drop a sub. Stuck to that tactic throughout. We didn't go to this one at all. And if you look at the analyst report, there was no need to, as we created plus 38 clear-cut chances for using the wide 4-3-3. As we finish this Fulham journey, obviously the Cairns absolutely buzzing with the success we've had. And probably even more so, we did it on a net spend of 5 million. Look, all the signings didn't work out. There's some here that just didn't work. But a lot of them really did, and the combination of having the attributes, the scout reports, and the data proved the winning combination. Today Moneyball takes a different turn as we combine attributes to make an anti-football squad. I'll be using data and scout reports not to bring in wonderful, skillful players like Messi, but instead wonderful players that also happen to be absolute beasts. So I guess the main goal of this is to create a squad anti-football full of absolute monsters. So welcome to the Netherlands, and we are taking over Telstar in the Eredivisie. You're probably thinking, why Telstar? Well, they're 18th in the pre-season league there on alphabetical order, and in the pre-season odds they are well and truly bottom at 1,000 to 1, and we love an underdog. So before we get onto the squad, what is the anti-football concept that we are shooting for? The criticisms of this would include a lack of flair. We're not exactly going to try and be Pep Guardiola here. As far as player roles go, expect to see ball-winning midfielders and roles like no-nonsense centre-backs. And all that will come into play when we start to decide what tactic we're going to use. So first off, I need to see what I'm working with, and this is the... Wait a minute. My goalkeeper is Ronald Koeman, and it is in fact him, yep. There's his dad. And ironically, he kind of fits the bill of being 6'2" and 90 kg, so he's probably my number one goalkeeper. So in Season 1, I'm going to be judging this squad on something a lot different, so I'm going to change the squad view. So I've changed it up to Sting Telstar Monsters, and all this is emphasising is basically the height and weight of this squad. So it looks like we've got a few centre-backs, and as you can see, they're all at a decent height, 6'4", 6'3", 6'3", 6 foot, a bit on the small side. But can he play as a full-back instead? Let's move him over there. His dribbling's not great, his first touch isn't good, nor is his technique. It's not bad, but we probably need a new left-back. There's trouble brewing at right-back though, because we've got some small players. Kane Seedorf's probably the best right-back, but he's only 5'9", so he's not going to cut the mustard. Just scraping into my thoughts is Robin Polly at 6 foot, so he's probably going to start at right back. That's the kind of thought process we're going through. I mean, before we get to the rest of the squad, when I look down here, we've got a lot of people under 6 foot, and I'm just going to be ruthless and list them all. I mean, this lad is probably one of our better players with a 700,000 valuation, but Jesus Malesus, he's 5'3". Okay, so that's everybody under 6 foot transfer listed. So I've obviously got some squad building to do, but the good news is I've got two monster strikers. The first one, Quinten van den Herrik, is 6'3" and 86 kg, and the second one is Danzel Gravenberch. This guy could be cult in this save. He's 6'1", but he's 101 kilograms. Now when you look at his positions, he's a striker or a centre back, but I'm convinced he's one of those players that gets chucked up front if you're losing. I mean, look at his pass record. He's not exactly a goal machine, is he? Yeah, he's definitely a centre-back, but for me, he's my Season 1 striker started up front. So it's pretty clear we literally need to beef out this squad. So for Season 1, it's going to have to be an old-school attribute search for some big old boys. Once we get to Season 2, we can revert to the data analysis to help us find the players. But for Season 1, we just need to do what we can to survive. And it's a good job we're not using data straight away, because we've only got one scout and we're allowed 2. Jesus. The other complication is the fact we are absolutely skint. We've got a transfer budget of 278, but we've got a wage budget of 0. So it's old school player search, contract status unattached, and then the only thing we really want Season 1 is height at least 6'2". Now first up, I definitely need a left back because they're all too small. The first player that caught my attention was Maxime Hullet. Is he another young kid from a famous player? Oh my days, he is. Ruud Hullet's his dad. He wants to be a centre-back. I'm going to play him as a left-back. He's 6'3", so he's a big boy. He can cross a ball, and he's not bad physically, so he'd be a great first signing. When I look back at the squad, we are sorely lacking in central midfielders, so that's got to be the next focus. The other crutch we've got in Season 1 is the fact our scouting range is only the Netherlands. We could up it to world, but we'd put ourselves in financial ruin. And we're not exactly well off either, so we need to be sensible Season 1. So I've only got about 15 to 20 players to choose from here, and I probably need 2 at least. I like the look of Emmanuel Matuta. He's got a good, decent attribute range, nothing worldy, but he is 6'3" and a physical player. Problem is that wage budget is killing me already. And I can't change the transfer budget either. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to miss out on a ton of players here. So instead I might have to look for some breakthrough prospects, some youth players that have been released by bigger teams. I mean, he's on a wage similar to me at my day job at Sainsbury's. To be fair, he's not a bad little player, but season 1 we're going to have to take what we can get. So instead I'm going to pivot a little bit and try and get some players in on loan. Despite looking 12 years old, Luke Netton is actually 6'3" and his style is a leader. I mean, it's likely in season 1 that a lot of these players under 6 foot will get a pass, but I am going to get them out eventually. They're just lucky that I'm skint, otherwise they'd be out of here straight away. Time for my anti-football tactic now. Now I've landed on this day 1 tactic. This is the Tell Death Star. You can see I've got fullbacks on attack. God, they've got a job to do here. They might even move up a bit higher. 2 no-nonsense centre-backs. There's our ball-winning midfielder. 2 box-to-box midfielder who will just cause chaos everywhere. Now up front, double target forward combo with a shadow striker trying to feed off the scraps. These are probably going to change, but these are the initial instructions. We're going to boot it long, slightly more direct, which may well shift to much more direct, something like that. We're going to float them crosses up for the big lads. We'll go for a counter and regroup, so we're just going to pack the back if we lose the ball. And out of possession, we'll try a mid-block at the start. Might not work, you know what FM's like, but we will get stuck in and we're going to drop off if we lose the ball. So the tactics in place. I've got some players on the way in, but I'm not going to have enough, so I'm going to have to work with the squad I've got. This could be a pretty messy first season. Before I got going with the season, there was some good news. Some of the youngsters are actually absolute monsters. But at least those boys have bugged our squad out, and if you look, even if we sold all of our sub 6 foot players, we would still just about have a starting 11. We got our new scout in, and to be fair, he was recommending a ton of players from all over the place, including 36-year-old Mauro Zarate, but 5'9", just not going to cut it. But it is encouraging to see that he is recommending players from Africa, from Asia, from Sweden, everywhere really. And to be fair, Dennis Watson, although absolutely terrible at judging ability, does have knowledge of a load of countries and regions. Similar story for my new chief scout. He's a Mexican. He wasn't the greatest guy that applied for us, but those nations and regions, that's what we need. Pre-season went okay, and there were some promising signs for the way we're going to play. Hulot down the left-hand side, whips it in, and there's Gravenberch with a big header. And he did this time and time again in this match, and what I love about him, he is just absolutely massive. He scores a double hat-trick in this match, all with his head. By the end of pre-season, we'd had a wonderful time. And cult hero Denzel Gravenberch had scored 13 times in 6 matches. Just bear in mind the quality of opposition though. One of our scouts had came up trumped with new signing Touré, in from Senegalese football for 63,000. He's going to play box to box and he's pretty decent. And vitally he's 6'2", but look at that attribute range. So he joins new signing Hullet at left back, Netan on loan from Feyenoord as the destroyer in midfield. Touré's in there, midfield there. I'm going to have to swallow my pride to some extent, playing some players under 6 foot for season 1, but so far, pretty happy. So good to get going. It's going to be a tough old season, but I'm quite excited who we can upset. Midway point of the season, I mean, we're doing the best we can. Do you know what? Gravenberch is still doing his thing though. And undoubtedly, our performance of the season is when he scored 4 times against Go Ahead Eagles. They couldn't handle the big man as it gave us a 4-1 win and things were looking good. I'd also brought in Adebayor, not that one. This is Victorian Adebayor. Came in from just everywhere basically, and he's not had a great time. And on occasion, neither have we, as we got battered by Feyenoord 8-1 and murdered by Sparta Rotterdam 6-0, although if you look at the match stats, it's a bit harsh. So overall, how are we sitting? We've just won 2 in a row, back-to-back 1-0s, and that's helped us get out of that bottom 3, and we're currently sat 15th, clinging 4 points clear. But now I can have a little look to see how the team are actually performing. We'll start with the legend that is Gravenberch. Playing up front, he's winning loads of headers, look at that. We thought he would, and he has been. Got a decent amount of goals, he's not breaking any barriers in terms of non-penalty expected goals. Some of the key players are going to be the fullbacks to supply those crosses. He's playing really well defensively. I'd like to see this get up a bit, but he is in a really struggling team. So Son of Rude is actually playing pretty well. So my midfield destroyer in on loan from Feyenoord, doing alright, winning some tackles, not getting a load of the ball back, he's struggled a bit. But I have seen promising signs from the new signing Touré. He does win a load of tackles and he gets forward quite a bit, so he's somewhere in between these 2 roles and he's doing okay. Goals are the main problem, as you can see. The other striker, Van den Herik, he's not played much through injury. It might be that we tweak this somewhat, but at the minute, I'm going to stick for now. There won't be any changes to the team because of this right here, so we need to trust what we've got. And we are doing our thing in terms of tackles attempted, second, yellow cards, top of that, tackles won were second, fouls made were top, so we are putting ourselves about a bit. Second half of the season started really well, some big wins. And we're a bit of a weird team because we do keep clean sheets, but we also concede an absolute bucket load to the better teams. Despite that, we showed some real fight late in the season and got some crucial results late on. And this win, with the highlight being youngster 6'6" striker Zonneveld scoring, he just came into the team late on, meant mission completed, we survive, and you know what, we did it by 10 points. Yep, we conceded an absolute ton of goals, 73 for the worst in the league, but scoring 39 was just enough, and getting 10 victories meant we were pretty comfortable. There's likely going to have to be changes to the tactic, but for season 1, I wasn't expecting much and it kept us in the league. And I'm telling you, this guy's a cult hero and he's staying with us as long as we can keep him. He's now a goal scoring machine with 14 goals this season, and that's not a bad performance. Senegalese player Touré looked good. He actually did okay in that central midfield spot, so we'll see what we can make of him next season. And Junior Hullet with 6 assists at fullback was a decent signing. Now half the squad are out of contract, but I see this as an opportunity to build a completely different squad. Because despite going for an anti-football approach, I still want us to be attractive to watch with plenty of goals, so the main anti-football element will come in via the height and weight of these players. Got to make this squad an absolute monster squad. But remember, we beat the odds, we were 1,000 to 1 certainties to go down, so it's got to be a result that season. I'm just thinking now what to come up with for the tactic for season 2. Tough ass season for the boys, but they did survive. The only way is up. Let's get more horrible. Into season 2, and by staying in the top flight, our finances have improved. Check that out. This means I was able to up the scouting range to world, so that should give us a better broad range of players to look through. Now, we don't want to play hoofball as such, we've done that. We want to be a good team, but with a ton of nasty elements. So topping things like tackle stats is where we want to be, and obviously with a strong emphasis on headers, which we're doing pretty good at. I do want to see us get up there in terms of crosses, 6th at the minute, so not bad. Basically all the nasty sides of the game I want us to excel at. So as you can see, I identified key positions I'm going to need, and I need to add a goalkeeper to that as well. Ronald Koeman Jr. has decided he doesn't want to stay with us, so he'll be leaving us. So thanks to the scouting range, it brought me Mohamed Kamara, who will soon be joining the club. Joining from Casa Sports in Senegal. Right, he's only 19, he's got work to do in terms of his attributes, but he's 6'2", and last season he was elite at winning headers and winning tackles. Now joining him will be some free transfer Brazilians. All of these boys have came in from Indonesian football, so not exactly an elite level. But all their scout reports have one thing in common: strength and stamina. That was Dalberto. It's a similar story for Jeffino. He scored 17 times in Indonesia last season, and again, strength and stamina. Probably the best of the three is Paulo, who's going to play in the attacking midfield slot. 6'2", attacking midfielder, physical player. Hey, that's a worrying amount of flair for us. More to come, but the next one coming in is an interesting player, Rennie Kriwak, who is 6'6", heading 17 and jumping reach 18, and he also can randomly dribble really well. Scout report emphasises the fact he's a huge unit, but what I like, and this is a weird thing to say, is his cons has a competitive streak which can sometimes lead to him bending the rules. Last season was mostly off the bench, but when he did get on, he won plenty of headers. So we've got 5 coming in at the minute. I expect more to come by the time we hit pre-season. I'm going to let you into the tactic now, and this is go to sleep. It's a version of a tactic I used with double liberos, but obviously we won't be using them. It is as carnage as it says, and I just feel like shocking the Eredivisie a little bit with it. Of course, that could go comically wrong, so we've got more players to come in just in case. Our new goalkeeper will be Ulrich Ndri. This man's 6'4", absolute unit of a man. And I'm taking a punt on 6'3" striker Joe Hugel from Manchester United. There's still a couple of those annoying sub-6 players still lingering around, but after pre-season's finished, maybe we'll get rid of them because the rest of the squad are absolute giants. So I tried the tactic in pre-season and it started off pretty well. There's loads of people in the box for everyone to aim at. But on the flip side, you can get outscored as Ghent showed here. This is a massive risk. That's where we're lined up. I've got 2 new fullbacks as well that should help us. Here's an interesting one to try and pronounce. This is Nathan Jo Aon. Nathan to you and me. Our new 6'3" left back, committed player who gives his all, love it. And on the other side we've got Elias Bronkhorst. What attracted me to him was the fact he's 6'1", but he's also got aggression and teamwork. And those two will be absolutely vital because they are the only width in this team as they bomb forward, leaving the 2 centre-backs to fight for their lives with Touré to try and win the ball back. Higher up the pitch, Dalberto and Paulo will roam around a little bit, and go wider, marking the opposition fullback to try and help out in defence. So despite my optimism with all my new signings, the season preview laughed at us again and put us down at 900 to 1. They may be right, but let carnage commence. This is not football, this is the way we play it. In a sign of what was probably to come, we went 2-0 down in our first game pretty early. In fact, after 21 minutes, we were getting ripped to shreds and it was 3-0. But keeping the faith, giant dribbling striker Kriwak scored twice as we pulled it back to actually take the lead 4-3. It ended up 4-4. That's a sure sign of what's to come. The carnage continues as we shocked Knockbreda, scoring another 4. And then in the maddest game yet, living legend Denzel Gravenberch scored a hat-trick as we beat Willem 4-5. But this was sandwiched between 5 goal defeats to Zwolle, and Rotterdam got their yearly battering of us. As you can see from the start to that season, we might have to calm things down a bit. I mean, after 8 matches we are sitting comfortably in 9th. We've scored 21 times, but we've conceded a whopping 26. So I'm thinking of different ways to actually change this up and make it a tiny bit more or less carnage. And we did that against Ajax, only losing 1-0 despite having 10 men for nearly the entire match. I'd flip things to a flat back 5, sacrificing one of the attacking midfielders for an extra centre back. And all of a sudden we started to grind out victories, completely opposite to the way we were just playing. This led us to playing Feyenoord away, a game I'm scared about, but we shocked Dutch football by beating them 1-0. And then out of nowhere, we scored 7 against Groningen. I'm not quite sure what happened there. It's supposed to be a more defensive formation, but solid as a rock. So after the first season carnage of goals going in everywhere, we've now got 4 clean sheets in a row, stifling teams with our flat back 5 and our 3 strong strikers. The good news is the players are doing what I'm asking of them. Plenty of headers won, especially from the strikers, Gravenberch with 7 goals this season. Surprisingly less impressive was Joe Hugel from Manchester United, so he's probably going to drop out of the team. Zé Paulo's been great with 6 assists, but as an attacking midfielder at 6'2", he's winning a ton of headers in an area of the pitch you don't normally. And they are excelling at the dirty dark arts of the game like pressures. Especially my fullbacks, they're having a great time. They're having the dark arts of winning a decent amount of headers, loads of pressures, winning the ball back, but them assists are pretty handy. And that's on both sides, right and left. And what's mad is goalkeeper Ulrich, despite conceding 31 goals, is still doing better than he should be. And that's a perfect defensive midfield display from Toure, winning tackles, applying pressure, progressing the ball. So we're sat in 11th with 23 points, but we're pretty comfortable. I think what I'm going to do is keep tweaking away at this flat back 5 tactic to see if we can make it a bit more expressive to give us a bit of a better chance going forward. So first half of the season, we're still trying to find ourselves. We're still trying to be aggressive and physical, but we're just trying to get a bit of attacking play in there as well. And second half of the season, sometimes we looked blooming good. The highlight came in 2 back-to-back games, first beating PSV and then going to Ajax and beating them with the flat back 5. Quite fitting that the home of beautiful Dutch football got ruined by the 5-man defence and the 3-man strike force. At that point things were going really well, but a bad end to the season stopped us getting as high as we could, but we did finish in the top 10 in 9th position, which gave us a chance of European places, but we just succumbed to Heerenveen. But a fantastic second season means we're an established Eredivisie side now. I've already started planning for next season, trying to think of ways that we can improve this flat 5 system. One thing's for sure though, we hit the jackpot with experienced Brazilian Zé Paulo. He had a great first season with 8 goals, 7 assists, but I think my assistant manager needs to calm down with the comparisons. And I know what you're all asking, how did Gravenberch do? Well, he scored 9 times in 29 matches, but he's just got himself a really bad injury. He's been out for 4 months with a damaged Achilles tendon, which incidentally coincided with our poor run at the end of the season. The guy's an icon, and to be fair, jokes aside, he continues to outperform his abilities, and he's not losing any weight. Now, our performance has meant that we are super comfortable in terms of finances, so I'm hoping that this transfer budget and wage budget, the board might get a bit more generous. But don't forget, we are a tiny team. There's our stadium, and the capacity is only 3,600. So now with that solid season wrapped up, we need to think how we can progress this team to get to the next level. Yes, we're still going to rely on physicals, but we need to get a better quality of player in who also match the physical anti-football mantra. It's a new season full of optimism, but not in the season preview, as we go back to 1,000 to 1. Are they having a laugh? But I'm looking forward to the new season with some new players to see if we can get this flat 5 working. If not, we will adapt as we go, as always. I've got some bids in for some players that I think will be difference makers. Players that are just a bit of a step up, such as Danilo Varakuta, a Ukrainian goalkeeper. Excited about this one, Yang Debango. He's found himself in Estonia and we found him. He just scrapes in being 6 foot, but he's a physical player with high work rate, so let's see what we can do. And I'm actually going to spend money on this guy. This is Mamadou Lamine Camara, central midfielder or defensive midfielder. Determination sticks out a bunch, but 6'4" and 87 kilograms fits the remit perfectly. Now, he hasn't played much, mostly been used off the bench, but when he does play, he seems to be doing everything right. So he's a player that we can invest in at only 22 years of age, and he's coming from Morocco. Honestly, my scouts are pulling up trees at the minute, and these guys are coming in from all over the place. I've got my recruitment focuses locked in, and I've also got the height locked in at 6'2", so I'm hoping to come up with some decent results. But despite having 8 million in the bank, the most we've had yet, we still have only got 500,000, so we need to be clever with what we do. But that hasn't stopped me building a big shortlist from players all over the place. We've got Togolese player in Boateng. We've got Yotsakaran Barapa, who's a Thai player. I've also got players on there that I'm expecting we won't be able to get this season, but maybe the season's coming. And late in the transfer window, I was able to get a player who's probably too good for us. Liam Skills joins from Celtic. I'm going to play him as a bit of a ball-playing centre-back, trying to get this aggressive anti-football team a bit more technical. And overall, we spent money, 700,000, and brought in 500 as well. As we continue to morph the flat back 5, this is what we're looking like this season. There's been a couple of changes, specifically in the centre-back area. Sven van Beek's came in as well. So far this season, he's started fantastically as well. Bit of experience. You'll notice we've moved our boy Nathan into a central midfield slot. That's to get our new signing Debango down the left-hand side. So far, it's proved the right decision, as 4 matches in, so early days for him. But look at that. So I sacrificed Nathan into defensive midfield, but it's been perfect. Pressures, tackles, possession won, and up front dribbling target man Kriwak has started well. There's a new guy alongside them, it's Badamosi. He was signed late on a free transfer, but he's 6'5", he's massive. And the scouts absolutely demanded that I signed him. You'll also notice that I've got an attacking mentality this time. All part of the plan to get a little bit more aggressive this season. And so far, so good. And don't worry, Gravenberch is still a major factor. At the midway point of the season, we've had some big wins. We're scoring plenty of goals. And even Sparta Rotterdam didn't beat us. And if you look at the actual match, we absolutely murdered them as well. Overall, though, we've been a little bit inconsistent, but we're definitely a better team now. We've played this setup most of the season. The front three there haven't really changed. Bizarrely, Badamosi just has not got going. No goals in the league. And if you look at his chart, he's doing everything right that I want. Winning a decent amount of headers, pressures, tackles, possession. He's just not scoring. But don't worry, because Danzel is. 7 goals so far. But Starman has been Kriwak, our Peter Crouch, 12 goals. So I'm going to keep tweaking away at this. There might be an option to actually lose a centre-back, move him into midfield, because at the halfway point of the season, we have a chance to kick on here, only losing 5 matches, sat in 8th, only 4 points off Europe. So perhaps getting a little bit cocky at this point, I went a bit more expansive, and against Ajax, it bit me directly in the ass. I mean, it started well. We raced into a 3-0 lead after 18 minutes. But then a player who probably should be playing for us, Wout Weghorst, just ripped us to bits. The game ended 4-8. Yep, 4-8. But the real story was brewing in the cup, and even Badamosi was scoring. We were flying in this one, and he scored a hat-trick here. And you may notice his goals all come from a particular type of source. We got all the way to the semi-final, then a very un-Telstar-like goal had got us to the Dutch Cup final. And the good news, all the big boys are out. We're going up against Groningen. Goal scorer from that free kick was Antali Nuriev, another player that we brought in the summer. He's a 6-foot physical attacking midfielder. Cracking first season for us, scoring 8 in 20. And where did the scouts find him? Of course, Azerbaijan. So with not long left in the season, we're sat comfortably in 8th position in the Eredivisie with a small chance to get in that top 5, but we're going to shoot for top 6. And we've got the biggest match that we could possibly have coming up soon in the final against Groningen. There has been a change to the tactic as well. In some matches we go with the box with a double anchor and a double target forward, and we still have the back 5 in our back pocket. And my man Muhammad Badamosi, I love this guy. So he scored no goals in the Eredivisie, literally none, but he scored 5 in 5 in the cup. And if you look at his overall performance, it's blooming great. And the main man just continues to do what he does. 11 goals this season in 26. He's now 32. But I've just given him a new contract till 2028. We've also now got a fully 6-foot plus squad. But it all comes down to this. biggest match in our history didn't exactly start well. Groningen came right out the blocks, and after half an hour, we were 2-0 down. But we came back into it, getting the first goal back on 45 minutes, and after an hour we made it 2-2 with a classic Telstar goal. This led us into extra time, and with penalties looming, after 115 minutes, we made the breakthrough, giving Telstar an unbelievable result, winning the Dutch Cup. That probably sums us up. Biggest overachievers. So what a time we're having. Remember, we're on a 1,000-to-1 team, but we're combining these two tactics at the minute to get a success with our giant squad, which is all 6 foot plus. In fact, I've got 3 guys over 6'6". There's already a couple of guys lined up to come in next season. 2 guys that are fitting the remit perfectly, winning headers. Question is, does the Telstar physical story continue? We are in the middle of creating an anti-football squad for the ages, and for some reason it's kind of working. So after the shock Dutch Cup win at the end of last season, which gave Telstar the biggest moment in club history, there was a bit of a hangover as we got smashed by PSV, but we got things back on track late in the season to finish really well, and we score ourselves an 8th place finish, but we don't have to go into that European playoff because that cup win puts us automatically into next season's Europa League. The question now is who stays and who goes to help us push on for next season and try to do even better. And to do that, it's time to dive into the data. Because next season, for the first time, we've actually got a little bit of money. It is a little bit of money, but for us, that's absolutely tons. So let's review this squad. We'll start with the fullbacks. Bronkhorst at right back has been a great success. This season, he scored 16 assists for us. And when you look deeper into it, so selecting his fullback attributes, you can see his assists are through the roof, but more importantly for the style of team we are, he's getting pressures in and he's winning tackles. On the other side of the pitch, you've got the great Dabango. A reminder about Dabango, he joined us for free transfer from Estonian football. What a great pickup by the scouts. He had a couple of injuries this season but still managed 12 assists overall and 9 in the Eredivisie, and from his statistics standpoint it's even more impressive than Bronkhorst. So we've got absolutely no problem at fullback, whether they play there or higher up next season, those two stay. Now how about the centre backs? Van Beek was brought in as a bit of experience last season, and it was a good move. Along with a good average rating for the season, he won a load of headers and surprisingly was really good on the ball. Speaking of good on the ball, Liam Scales is the more cultured of our defensive linchpins. And you can see that here. He doesn't win as many headers, but he has the other 2 to do that. What he does though is pressures attempted and he wins tackles, not to mention bringing the ball out of defence. And the last man was the youngster Kamara. And as we can see here, he's struggled more than the other 2. It could just be his age at 21, he may get better this season, so we'll keep an eye on that, but we'll also keep an eye out for a potential centre-back target. So the way the back 3 is designed is 2 of them are there to do the dirty work, headers, tackles, and this man is one who progresses the ball a bit more. 2 players occupied the defensive midfield slot. Nathan was one of them, and for an all-round defensive performance, that's pretty good. Headers won, pressures, tackles, and 10 yellow cards. It was a similar story for the other player who played in the defensive midfield slot, Kamara. He's a bit more progressive with his movement with the ball, but whether we play 1 in there or 2, we've got a couple of good players in that slot. The AM slot's an interesting one. Nureyev is one who scored the winner in the cup final, and the other is the great Z Paulo. I love Z Paulo, he's one of my best free transfer pickups and another good season, but he is now 32, so we might have to think about getting a younger replacement in. And one thing to note about this position is I'm not expecting a whole load of the dark arts such as headers and tackles. This slot is more about getting the ball and supplying the ball to these 3 brutes up front. And speaking of up front, this is the key position in this entire philosophy and tactic. And our boy Kriwak had his breakthrough season. The 6'6" striker who can shockingly dribble a bit bagged 21 goals this season and 17 in the Eredivisie. He was the 3rd top scorer in the entire league, and that is just a wonderful performance. Outstanding. And then we have the riddle of Muhammad Badamosi. Now this guy only scored 5 times all season, all in the cup, didn't score a goal in the Eredivisie. If you look at his data, he's doing everything I want from an anti-football metric, winning headers, decent amount of pressures, winning tackles at a shocking rate for a striker, but he just doesn't score goals. And when you look at his attributes, he should be way better than he is. So he is a bit of a riddle, but he's 27, so I'm tempted to give him another season. And then, of course, you've got Telstar legend Denzel Gravenberch. 3 seasons we've had him now, 12 goals, 9 goals and 11 goals. Mr. Consistent, but there are signs of a decline. It may be that he will be our super sub next season, opening a gap up front. And I didn't waste time with that gap up front because I purchased a player that I've been after for quite some time, and some others joined the party as well. And season 3 had barely finished, but I'd still got in Lequencio Zifuk on loan from AZ Alkmaar. There's a few keys why we signed this lad. He is 6'6", 92 kilograms, all the raw potential in the world. And interestingly, he favours playing as an advanced forward, showing his physical prowess in terms of his pace and acceleration. So slotting him in that position, potentially as an advanced forward alongside 2 target forwards, might give us a different option. These 2 target forwards will naturally drop off and hold the ball while he will look to break in behind. Interesting option. Of the other options that came in, I didn't go mad. There was the Valakari signing that we sealed in January to play in attacking midfield. Another striker in Diego at 6'4". And the other signing that I was happy about was the signing of Lucas Kelly-Hill, provided by my scouts, a 6'6" centre-back who can also play as the tallest left-back in the football game. Loads of pros, scouts absolutely loved him, and right just before the season began we managed to steal the signing of Til Sissoko, 6'7" centre-back. Attribute range is really good with a jumping reach of a whopping 18. This guy has the potential to be one of the best centre-backs in the league, I think. Which meant the team and tactic for season 4 looked a little bit like this. I've moved Dibango a little bit higher up just because he's that good. I want to see what he can do, getting a little bit more of an advanced starting position. We have the 3 up front into Badamosi, Kriwak and Zifuik. Interestingly, Badamosi at 6'5" is the smallest of the 3 strikers. Valakari will start in behind them at 6'2", and Zifuik will be an advanced forward this season. So I reckon this is our best squad yet, and you can see that in the season preview, as instead of 1,000 to 1 this season, 450 to 1. We did lose the Dutch Super Cup 3-1 to PSV, but Zifuik did score straight away. In our first league game, it was a 2-2 draw with Emmen, and he scored again. And hold on to your hats, because so did Badamosi, who finally scored his first league goal for us. And in the next match there was more cause for optimism as we win 6-0 and Badamosi scored 2 more. And the early season form continued with another 2 goals from Zifuk, making it 4-1 at Groningen. Not to be left out, a double from Kriwak gives a 2-1 win over Willem. And more cause for optimism as the tallest corner taker in world football, 6'6" Kelly-Hill whipped one in against PSV, and Kriwak scored again, giving us a 2-1 win. So our best start to a season yet, including getting involved in the Europa League. And after 8 matches, Telstar, what are you doing up there? Top of the Eredivisie, but there's a long way to go. So a great start to the season. I'm enjoying the way this tactic is looking. It all depends now if we can keep this going. Check out how we did at the midpoint of season 4. Oh, I almost forgot. I signed Musa Fall thanks to a viewer comment, so thanks for that. 6'6". He only cost me 42,000. And you know what? It's probably a good job he only cost me that much, because check this shot out. I mean, he's in the box and he went out for a throw. Yeah, that's some going to miss by that much, Musa lad. So, midway point of the season, the goals are still raining in. I also think we could be the only team in world football who uses headers as through balls. All this talk of strikers, well, Gravenberch is still there doing his thing. So the first half of the season for us was pretty spectacular. Until this happened. Feyenoord opened up and scored 7. Which makes it all the more unbelievable that we're sat joint top with them on 43 points after 20 matches. We've built ourselves a hell of a squad here, and most importantly, of course, they are absolutely massive and they're doing their job as they are winning headers all over the place. Now, in the other competitions, it's been a bit more of a struggle. We are already out of our Dutch Cup, so we won't be retaining that. And in the Europa League, it's been a bit of an eye-opener, but we have only lost 1 match. We're just drawing too many games. This has been the team for most of the season. It's good to see the strikers getting on well. The centre-backs is maybe a different story. However, there's been some colossal performances, and moving Dibango higher up has been even better. His expected assists, that, my friends, is outrageous world-class level. But most importantly, he's combining that with pressures and tackles. He's given me the perfect performance with 9 assists in 20 matches. And to be fair, Bronkhorst on the other side is doing his thing as well. Less assists because he starts a little bit further back, but that overall performance is great, and that tackles won, and pressures and headers, perfect. Now, the centre-backs. As expected, when you bring in a 6'7" centre-back, you want him to win headers, and he is doing just that. It's an interesting thing back there. It looks like Sissoko being the stopper, coming forward a little bit, winning the headers, while the other two, Van Beek's had a bit of a drop off, not winning any headers or tackles or possession. And we know what we're getting with Liam's skills. He's more of a ball player. So it looks like he's leaving the headers 1-2 Sissoko and he's doing everything else. But I can't complain too much because the pressures and the tackles are great. So how are these boys doing up front, our new look strike force? Kriwak's doing decent, 9 goals in 23 matches. Overall performance pretty similar to last season. And Badamosi actually scoring in the Eredivisie with 8 goals so far this season. And his performance, I mean, that is just what I'm looking for an overall performance for a striker. And it's meant the main goal scorer has been loan signing Lequencio. 18 goals this season, he's ripping this league to bits, winning loads of headers, getting loads of shots away. Outrageous goals record so far. So the team, and in particular Zifuk, continued in the second half of the season. He scored a bucket full of goals, and to be fair, he was backed up well by his strike partners. I'm really happy with the system, and when we've got the ball and attacking, you can see how we shape up. We've got our 3 centre backs across there. There's the full back on attack. You'll notice he's a little bit more withdrawn than the left back, who gets a bit higher up thanks to his advanced starting position. Up front, there you can see target forward 1, target forward 2. They drop off a little bit and go a bit wider. So our boy Zifuk has got all that space to run into. And then the attacking midfielder roams around everywhere, and the defensive midfielder just kind of holds his position in there in case anything goes wrong. We did make the knockouts in the Europa League, finally succumbing to Fiorentina 5-2, but we made some good money out of that run. As for the rest of the second half of the season, we only lost 2 matches in the league. This included this 5-5 draw with Feyenoord, which kind of sums up our season. As we just draw too many matches and finish 3rd in the table, but it is a record finish for us. I've got to be happy with that. Everything is on the way up, good goal scoring record, a pretty decent defensive record if you take away the matches against Feyenoord. We just drew too many games. So a great season overall. I just need to have a look at the team and the tactic and wonder where we can change it, maybe just to progress that little step further. There's a couple of players I do need to keep and one player for certain. Lequencio, remember he's only on loan. He ends up scoring 25 goals for us and just an unreal performance. His value is a problem though because it might be up to 3.3 million. Now tactically I don't want to change a great deal because we're doing great. There might be one thing we can do though. There is an awful lot of draws there and some draws against teams that probably we should have won. So next season it could just be a little change, such as going attacking mentality against some teams we should beat. And there is potential to move our right back up to that slot there to match Dibango. Because Dibango has had a great season with 20 assists overall, and when you look at his actual chart, outrageous. Don't get me wrong, Broncos has had a decent season, but he's only managed to get 6 assists, so if we can get him into a higher position, he might do better. But the good news is there's not too many areas we need to improve. I have identified the areas I do want to improve. You can see the empty positions there. It may seem harsh on a few players, but we need to get to that next level, and those players will still play a part, just more likely from the bench. Speaking of the bench, don't worry, Danzel's still there. He managed to score 6 goals this season, mostly off the bench, and you know what? His overall performance with the limited minutes, still great. Don't retire, my man, don't retire. So I'm just about to head into pre-season, but I have got one deal sorted already. Sasig Fofana, a 6'4" centre-back, currently playing in Austria for Grazer AK. He's an interesting player because he's going to give me something different at the back. Good all-round attributes, but his physicals really do stand out. But the good news is, as we've grown this club and the finances have got better and better, they have left me with a good transfer budget for next season of 3.3 million, which just so happens to be Lequencio Zifuk's transfer value. And boom, there it is. He's now our player. I couldn't believe it, but AZ Alkmaar did accept our offer. So we've locked him in for 3.3 million. I still think it's a bargain, but obviously it's our record transfer. And we do have a clutch of other signings, as their total outlay is actually 6.5 million, largely thanks to bringing in 2 million as well, with a clutch of squad players leaving us. Keep your eyes on Joan Garces, who's came in from Colombian football. American Decali, to be specific, 6 goals in 16 this season. 6'5" defensive midfielder Julian Neuhaus. He's got a ton of positive pros: bravery, work rate, resolute. We've got another new striker, also from AZ Alkmaar, 6'4", Sridan Hristic. But he's got everything I'm looking for: jumping reach, good in the air, consistent. So this is definitely the strongest squad we've ever had as we go into our 5th season with Telstar. The squad is filling up. I'm flirting with going with wide centre-backs to get even more expressive in certain matches. I am still looking for a fullback that will improve on Bronkhurst. If not, he'll just jump straight back in the team. With all our transfer business, we actually moved up the season preview charts for once into 7th at 100 to 1. And things were looking good in pre-season as we smashed teams like Manchester United 3-0. We'd also scored a couple of late signings to improve the squad still further. Thai right back Nicholas Mikkelsen, who spent many a season in the lower leagues of Germany, so it's a bit of a risk, but I think he can make the step up. And importantly, so do the scouts. And we also managed to grab Kaplan, who'd been released by Ajax. A physical centre-back with good bravery and determination, and the good pre-season form seemed to be carrying on into the league campaign. As new signing Hristic scored twice in our first away game, but we did go crashing out of the Europa League in just the qualifying stages, really disappointing defeat to Randers. But we got over it and responded pretty well. And after a bit of a sticky start, we're now absolutely firing in the Eredivisie. Halfway point of the season, we're yet again sitting second, but this time Feyenoord seem to be getting away from us. They are just cruising. However, in better news, our exit from the Europa League meant that we jumped into the Conference League and we've smashed that up. And this included, believe it or not, an away victory at Aston Villa. A welcome surprise was new signing Hristic, who came in on that move from AZ Alkmaar. Look at that data chart. He scored 20 goals already this season, including 15 in 21 in the Eredivisie, an absolute bargain. His form has actually taken the pressure off Zivrouk, who also came in on that permanent transfer. He's still done well with 18 goals. And big bad Badamosi continues what he does best, just ruffling up defences so his strike partners can score. We've hit the jackpot with our new right back. He's came in and done exactly what I'd hoped he would, matching the assists to the left hand side. In fact, that's probably as good as I've seen. And the big physical defensive midfielder Nijhuis, perfect, look at that. Defensive, solid as a rock. So everything's going well so far. Wait a minute. You may notice there seems to be a new left back in Nkunku. That's because the great Dabango has left us. His release clause got triggered and he left us for 11 million. Even more annoying because he was absolutely flying. However, Nkunku only cost us 900,000 from Frankfurt, and he's only started 3 matches, but he's got 2 assists, so if he keeps that up, I won't miss Dabango. So a really good first half of the season. We did exit the cup, which is annoying because that was ours, but we are still in the Conference League, so let's see what we can do in the second half of the season. First bit of good news, Nkunku made us not miss our boy down the left hand side at all. He came in with 8 assists in 16 matches, and that is elite. As for the rest of the team, we've actually got a good relationship between all our centre-backs and all our strike force. Look at that. And that's because we had a stunning second half of the season. We didn't lose a match, and we even beat Feyenoord thanks to big bad Badamosi. The only defeat in that second half of the season was that cup game. But despite our best form yet, we just could not catch Feyenoord as they blitzed it with 83 points. But the tactic is a winner. I did drop one of the wide centre-backs back to normal central defence, but we had some outrageous performances throughout, including 21 assists from the right back, as good an all-round performance as you'll get from an attacking midfielder, with 19 goals from Valakari. And just look at these performances from the strikers, all of them just pulling out insane numbers. So the 5-1-1-3, as FM's lovingly called it, has given me some of my best clear-cut chances for and against yet, with plus 52. So I think we've done Telstar proud, and we've even got an upgrade in our stadium. Look at that. Oh yeah, one more thing. The Conference League. So we qualified in 3rd place in the Conference League, only losing that one match. In the first knockout round, we overcame a first leg deficit to beat Gil Vicente 3-0. In the second leg, that classic Telstar goal put us through 5-3. But then in the quarterfinals, we went to Slovenia and got absolutely pummeled 4-0. It was a mad match with their goalkeeper getting man of the match. However, this led us to an epic second leg. We came firing out and got some goals back early. These are classic Telstar goals. Early in the second half, we got 4 goals back already. Disaster hit though, as they got a goal back and went ahead on aggregate. But just 2 minutes later, we managed to force extra time. Thank you, goalkeeper. And then, in extra time, another classic Telstar goal gave us an epic win. 6-1 on the night and 6-5 on aggregate would go to the semi-finals. In the semi-final, we drew Shakhtar Donetsk. Our towering strikers gave us a massive away victory. So it's the semi-final second leg, and we just don't need to do anything stupid. Now, Shakhtar did score, but then we hit the overdrive button and got it back on track. And you know what? This was actually pretty comfortable for a semi-final. We go through 8-3 on aggregate, and tiny Telstar have got themselves a European final. I was expecting to play AC Milan, but division rivals Ajax overcame them, so we meet Ajax in the Conference League final. And by the way, the sale of Dibango means we've brought in 15 million and spent 9.5, so we've done it on a good budget. In fact, the team are blooming rich as hell now, look at that. Now this could be the last time this team are ever together, because the vultures are circling on them. But then we tricked Ajax with a short free kick. They definitely expected us to whip it into all the big boys, but Scales took advantage. Then, like so often has happened this season, we went flying down the right hand side, the deep cross, and Badamosi put us in front. And then in went the third, the long ball to the wide target forward, and he finds his partner with a low cross. And with that, we held out and Telstar grabbed the Conference League title. Come on. Biggest overachievers again. Mickelson, by the way, had 12 assists in the Conference League alone. He was robbed of the Player of the Season award. But LaQuincio did get the Young Player of the Award with 12 in 13. And even the long-forgotten Dibango got in the Team of the Season. So our 5-season journey at Telstar comes to an end with a 14th, a 9th, an 8th, a 3rd and a 2nd. A steady build, we just couldn't quite get the Eredivisie title away from Feyenoord. But thanks to the tactic that we finally settled on, we get them a Dutch Cup and even better, the Europa Conference League. Something's going down in Scottish football at the moment. The league has of course been dominated by two teams for years and years. However, that's where we come in, and that's where Tony Bloom and data come in. So Tony Bloom is the owner of Brighton, and Brighton have shot up the table using data. He owns this company, Jamestown Analytics. They have been working with Hearts already, but now that's getting cranked up because he's got himself a big share of Hearts. So we're going to take over Hearts of Midlothian to try and break the domination of the big two. And we're going to do it with no attributes and just solely relying on data. Right, so today's task is pretty simple. We need to break that old firm dominance. That's not as easy as it seems, because as you can see from the past winners table, it's been Celtic and Rangers since 1984, and we haven't won a league title since 1960. So a great result for me would simply to be getting that top two and sandwich in between them. If we can push on and get a league title, my lord. So welcome to Hearts. We know it's going to be a big task, but we're up for it. So having landed at the club, well, the first thing I notice is the squad is pretty big. I mean, they've already got 5 goalkeepers in the first team squad, so we probably need to trim it down a bit, if anything. There are, of course, a few standout players. Lawrence Shankland will be leading the attack. He's got good finishing. And veteran goalkeeper Craig Gordon, at 40 years old, is the best of the bunch. So recently, when I've been doing these Moneyball videos, I start to make transfers straight away from day one. But I'm going to take a different approach this time and give them all a chance and not sign anybody in Season 1. However, there's a number of young players in the squad, such as Musa, who I do see promise in, and my coaches like him as well. Now him, along with a few others, will be loaned out to gain experience, and hopefully they'll make an impact next season. So we're not going to make any transfers Season 1, however, we are going to build a shortlist from day one to try and get talents ready for next season. And we're going to do that by sending our scouts all over the world. Then with the scout recommendations, we can build the shortlist. However, at the minute, my staff team is tiny. I need to build that first and foremost. So whenever I go for scouts, such as new scout Alan Roche, I do it based on one main factor, and it is where their knowledge is around the world. You can see here he's got France, Belgium, Spain, but even more interestingly, he's got knowledge of Africa in the Ivory Coast and Senegal. Similar story for Henny Diret, the next scout. He's got unreal knowledge of Europe and many other places as well. He'll be very handy. The final scout I brought in was Aaron Lejean. I wanted him for his knowledge of the US, both North America and South as well. So once they were signed, I was able to set up their recruitment focuses based on their areas of expertise. For example, Henny Diret, the scout with knowledge of basically everywhere, Well, I've sent him to all of Northern Europe and then focusing deep on Belgium and Finland. And already he's starting to come up trumps so I can build the shortlist. We've also got Scout Alan Roche focusing in on Africa, and the recommendations from him are starting to come in as well. And the reason I'm setting that up so aggressive at the start is because we've got a pretty decent transfer budget of 4.5 million. So I need to build a tactic for this team, and the squad are pretty well rounded, but there is a lot of wingers, so it's oozing a 4-4-2 variation. So I've created a 4-4-2, but it's a kind of funky one with some interesting roles. We've got what seems to be a pretty standard back four with one fullback more attacking than the other. That's because in front of him he's got a wide playmaker, a player that will drift around and spend a lot of the time in field, therefore the fullback will overlap him and provide the width. On the other side I've got a defensive winger. Now defensive wingers aren't defensive like the name suggests. They spend a lot of the time up here pressurising the opposition fullback. If they win it back, then they can cross the ball in. Central midfield we've got a holder who will win the ball back and one more advanced to back up the strikers. Up front the combination of a pressing forward who will pressurise the defence and an advanced forward who will hopefully be the main goal getter. Mentality wise, I'm going to start an awful lot of the matches with an attacking mentality. Obviously when we come to Rangers and Celtic, that'll probably drop down to cautious. You'll notice I've only got a few players selected so far. Craig Gordon, the experienced goalkeeper. Right back Christian Bodge-Grevnik. Reason for that, he's the only one I've got. Defensive midfielder Cameron Devlin. When you're playing this way, it's always hard to decide who starts when you don't know the players. However, when you look at his abilities, he's got several in excellent range in terms of bravery, tackling, work rate. He just oozes defensive midfielder. The next thing you do is you go to your coach report, and then you can just have a little look at the pros. You can see he's already a good Premiership player, so he's going to be fine, and he's got a lot of pros that fit the bill, including consistency, relish in big matches. He just looks like an ideal starter. The final thing you want to look at is your squad comparison over here, and you can see that he compares well to the other options. And one last thing on the squad comparison tool, if you go up here, select the drop down, you can compare him to defensive midfielders or any other position you're thinking of playing him in. And the final player that's guaranteed starting is Lawrence Shankland. I looked at him quickly before, you can see his finishing stands out an absolute mile. And again, when you go to the coach report, he's just our best striker by an absolute mile. The rest of the positions I'll try and decide through pre-season, which I'm already deep into, but it's fair to say there will be a large degree of rotation in the early season. In an ideal world, this is how the tactic looks. You can see the two central midfielders there holding their position. This guy will break forward. Now up here we've got the defensive winger. Interestingly down here though, wide playmaker, fullback on attack. So he's going to overlap him at some point in this move. As the ball comes across now, you can see Forrest, the wide playmaker, drifting inside. And here goes my fullback on attack to supply the final cross. The league season began with a great performance away at Livingston where we created an absolute bucket full of chances. Our first big test came in the second game of the season as we played Rangers at home and got the early lead through Musa, and shockingly on 50 minutes we took a 2-goal lead as the defensive winger whipped it across and Shankland was there. Rangers got one back on 51, but in a really tight match we held out and take the win 2-1. What followed was a slightly disappointing home draw against St Mirren, but we were finding our feet in this tactic really quickly, and in the next match against Kilmarnock, Shankland up front got himself a hat-trick. Then our next big test came with Celtic coming to Tynecastle, and we shocked the old firm again with the right back once again supplying the finish for Braga as we eke out a 1-0 win. In fact, the start of the season had been unreal. The only team to stop us in our flow was Rangers as we lost 2-1 at Ibrox, a game in which new Rangers striker Diego Costa scored the first. Yep, Diego Costa's at Rangers. But 12 games in, so far so good, we're sitting second in the league just behind Celtic. We got to the semi-finals of the League Cup as well, but Rangers have just knocked us out. Up until the midpoint of the season, we were playing really well. There was a couple of annoying defeats like this one to St Mirren and another to Dundee United. But overall, we were performing really well and I was getting a good idea now of what players are going to stay with us throughout this journey. For example, striker Lawrence Shankland has been ridiculously good. I mean, absurd. First of all, he scored 30 times in 23 matches. And that's reflected in his data chart with the massive headliner being goals at 1.31. I don't think I'll find that anywhere else in this entire database. So most of the time, my first 11s looked like this. We knew he was going to start, being the only out-and-out right back at the club. Bodge-Grevnik, 7 assists so far in 23 matches, good overall record. You can see he's concentrating on attack because the defensive side of the game is kind of non-existent. But that's why we've got the defensive midfielder on his side of the pitch. This is Cameron Devlin, and he's doing all the dirty work, letting all the other players bomb forward. He's winning plenty of tackles, he's not giving the ball away, and he's progressing the passing nicely. At centre-back, Craig Halkett has been solid as a rock, winning a bunch of headers and winning the ball back. So overall, at the midway point of the season, I really can't argue. We've played a couple more matches than them, but we are sandwiched right in between Celtic and Rangers. Right, team. I won't lie, that's gone better than I thought. But what we can do now is, with a few months of data behind us, I can start to judge my players to push on for this season, and I can start to see which positions we will need to strengthen in the summer, so we can potentially start building a thorough shortlist. So we can now look to replace some of these players in the summer. And it may be harsh because the team are performing well, but we need to push on if we're to break this dominance. Pressing forward, Braga up front with Shankland is just not scoring goals. He's only scored 2 times in 21 starts, and you can see that there. Defensively he's doing great, but I just need a bit more. The key position out wide is a wide playmaker. He's kind of getting lost in the shuffle bit, Alan Forrest. He's only got 5 goal contributions in 25 matches, and I'm not really sure what he's doing. Now, it may be that we could change the role, potentially matching up a defensive winger, but I don't really need to because the fullback's playing so well, so it could be a change of personnel. At centre-back, Frankie Kent is just not playing as well as Halkett. He's kind of getting overshadowed big time. Volante is a tricky one as well. At the minute, I've got Callum Neuvenhoff playing there. Now, Volante is a bit of a combination of an attacking midfielder and a defensive midfielder. In some aspects, he's doing pretty well, but in some he's not. And his goal and assist ratio, I'm just not getting enough goal contributions from 19 matches, so that might be a position we look at. Bit of an unsung hero has been the defensive winger, Sander Carton. He's got 8 assists, 4 goals, so 12 goal contributions in 22 matches, and you can see he puts pressure on defence because he's got 9 yellow cards and 1 red. As far as his data, I'm going to class him as an attacking midfielder, but you could also class him as a defensive midfielder as well, but we'll look at him as an attacking midfielder. His expected assists are great, he's getting plenty of shots away. I'd like to see more dribbles, but maybe that'll change if I change him to a normal winger. Overall though, team for the rest of the season is set in place, they're looking good, and we're still not going to sign anybody yet. So it's this point where the scouting becomes even more crucial, because we're planning for the end of the season and building that shortlist. And on that, when you've got your scouting range as world, you will have things pop up into your inbox such as this, asking if you want to scout random competitions in random countries you may not normally keep an eye on, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And it's already thrown up a couple from the African Super League there. You can see Abubakar Nazir, he's on my shortlist. Overall, I'm very happy with the way the recruitment focuses are looking, and it's helped me build a pretty substantial shortlist already. Into the second half of the season, we got some big wins, including a 2-1 away win at Celtic. But we did get some annoying defeats as well that we should have done better at, including this random humbling by Dundee. A game that might have convinced Craig Gordon to finally call it a day at 41 because he's retiring at the end of the season. That being said, overall though, the second half of the season was fine. Got to the Championship group, and we finished the season in 3rd position, behind Rangers and way behind runaway title winners Celtic, who gained 100 points. However, if you do look at it closely, you will see we are comfortably the best of the rest, finishing a whopping 17 points clear of 4th placed St Mirren. And it looks even better when you consider that after a pretty comfortable route through the Scottish Cup, we make the final against Rangers coming up. So can we get a bonus piece of silverware in our first season in Scotland? My big issue is both my starting centre-backs and defensive midfielder are all suspended or injured. My lord, this game was a drab affair. 0-0 going into extra time, then Rangers finally took the lead through Max Aarons. However, my boys get the equaliser in the 113th minute thanks to defensive wingers Cross and Shankland there again. So it's heading to penalties, it's 120th minute, our mistake from the throw. Goes to Ridvan, are you kidding me? So close to a dream first season by getting a trophy, but the good thing is we have had a good season, so there is a nice basis to build on. And now the fun part, we can start making moves in this transfer market using Mr. Tony Bloom's analytic approach to improve this squad and push on. And we've got quite a bit to work with. Those players you see in the starting 11 are the ones I'm definitely happy with. There might be 1 or 2 more, but 6 out of the 11 is not bad. So I'm looking at 5 positions I definitely want to strengthen. I literally can't improve on Shankland up front. At this level, 43 goals in 43 matches. just outstanding. He definitely needs a partner though, that's one we're going to look at. On the wing we need competition for Carton, but he definitely will start next season. And I'm very happy with central midfielder Devlin. He's just a nasty man in that central midfield, exactly what we need. Now right back's an interesting one. Borj Grevnik, great, 14 assists all season, but he does need competition. And I need a centre-back partner for the excellent Craig Halkett. That is outstanding. He's even a threat going forward from corners. So notepads at the ready, this is what I'm looking for. A brand new defender who will match up well with Halkett, competition for both full-back positions, right and left. A new goalkeeper. Central midfielder, I want a box-to-box style midfielder to back up the strikers. A wide playmaker or a wide midfielder, we may change the role there. And definitely a striker who can take some of the pressure off Shankland to score some goals. And this is where all that prep work, setting up those recruitment focuses and building this shortlist should, in theory, come in handy for Season 2. So going into Season 2, the goal was simple: improve on last season's performance. I've identified the gaps in the team that I'm looking to improve, and building that shortlist has came up trumps because we've got some big time targets now. I've got bids in for 6 or 7 players. So a strike partner for Shankland was a priority. One option I've gone for is Sharani Zuberu. So he's 24 years old, used mostly off the bench by his club last season, but he still managed 10 goals, and as you can see from his data chart, he gets his shots away and he scores a lot of goals and contributes assists. He could be the perfect foil for Shankland. Currently playing for Slovan Bratislava. He's an out of contract player, so it's an absolute no risk move. I'm also looking for players for both wings, a playmaker option and potentially someone to put pressure on Khartoum. Sami Castello covers both bases. He can play either side. Now he's currently playing in Malaysia with Johor and he's had a good season, but the thing with Castello is he's got good pedigree. He used to play for AC Milan amongst other teams, loads of pros, already a standout for what we've got. Another option will be Hugo Palacios, a 27-year-old winger. This season from an attacking standpoint he's had a good overall season with plenty of assists. And if you remember, that was the big slight against Alan Forrest. He's had a good season, but not contributing as much as he could from an attacking standpoint. Also looking for a midfield partner for Devlin in central midfield. And believe it or not, this has led me to the UAE. This is Azajon Janiev. He's 26 years old and he's had a good time over there this season with 9 assists and 6 goals. And if you look at him from a defensive standpoint, really good, and an attacking standpoint as well, putting the numbers in. Again, he's out of contract. The perfect option could be Simon Alexander Santos Langbo. Now he's had 28 appearances this season, 4 goals. His data chart tells me he hasn't been the most attacking defender, but defensively pretty solid. What appeals the most is though that he can play both positions and even jump into centre back if needed. I'm also keeping an eye on the development centre because Hearts do have a great youth system, including the outrageous 15-year-old Alfie Hutchinson, who's already valued between 650 and 6.6 million. But like a lot of these players, it's probably a year or 2 early, but they would be a great long-term save if you're looking for one. But we'll keep an eye on them to see if they can contribute to the squad at some point. So we had a hell of a time with work permits, but everybody got given one. Fantastic. Including the late signing of 22-year-old centre-back Marvel. And with all this going on, the scouts were still recommending me random players such as Eduardo Aguirre, who plays for Athletic San Luis. And striker Lawrence Shankland only went and won the Adidas Golden Shoe as well. Holy moly. His outstanding season has seen his value rocket to 17.5 to 19 million. It'll be interesting to see if anybody comes in for him. So it's important when doing this style of save that when players come up, you add them to the shortlist. Even if you've already recruited, keep an eye on them and see how they do. You want to keep that shortlist strong, and as you can see from mine, I've got a rake of A+ players, so we'll see how they do for another season to see if they maintain form for 2 seasons rather than just 1. We're in mid-June now and some of our signings are getting confirmed. Remember I talked about Marvel? Well, the scouts absolutely loved him. Top speed allows him to pace players over longer sprints, and then his squad comparison puts him even ahead of Craig Halkett. His history is interesting. He started at Real Madrid, actually played 6 games for them in La Liga before joining Leganes last season. Great season, we pick him up on a free. Craig Gordon retired, but I'd replaced him with 2 players. First, Venezuelan international Moises Ramirez. I was told by my scouts I had to sign this man, and you can see why. And another free transfer in Angus Gunn. I've got 2 good goalkeepers now competing for that number 1 spot. Going into the new season, the pre-season odds had us in 3rd, but at 50 to 1. That is wild how far behind Celtic and Rangers they think we are. Financially, we're in a good spot with 17 million in the bank. It's given us a really good transfer budget if we need to make any last minute signings. With players continuing to leave, we've made a decent amount of money now. More of our players came through the door on July the 1st. It means the team looks pretty strong going into the new season. I think it's better than last season, so it bodes well. And the last thing to do before the season gets started is to have a little cheeky look at the free transfer market. This is where we can't judge it on player data because they haven't got any, because they've just been released. And a lot of the players like Patrick Bamford have not even played last season. So it would be a bit of a punt, but you can do it on a combination of judging on ability and asking your scout for a scout report. But there is a few there that definitely tempt me. And annoyingly, Celtic were doing the same thing by offering Luis Suarez a contract. 37-year-old Suarez from Inter Miami might be on his way to the SPL. I tried to hijack it. Yeah. Instead, I bowed to temptation and I've picked up Patrick Bamford. I see it as a no-risk move. He'll probably be injured half the time, but his wages weren't that bad. Right, a big summer in terms of transfers. Some very Brighton-esque signings from all over the world, some obscure nations and leagues. But very happy with the squad now. All that's left to do is see how we do in Season 2. Can we close that gap? So we started the season well and 2 new signings gave us a win over Rangers. Second game of the season, we beat Rangers at Ibrox thanks to Segunde Valente Ganiev and striker Bamford in the 93rd minute. The risk of signing Bamford looked like it was going to pay off as he scored 4 times in the Europa League against Lask. So far this season he's been pretty damn good, scoring 12 times in 29 matches and an overall striker performance to die for. The start of the season was really good. We went undefeated all the way up until late September. We even had a game against Juventus at Tynecastle, equalising in the 94th minute through Shankland. But those extra Europa League games were starting to catch up with us a little bit. Following the loss to Newcastle, we lost against rivals Celtic and very frustratingly away at Dundee. However, on the way to the midpoint of the season, we have turned things around really well, including going to Celtic Park and beating them 3-1 with 2 goals from Bamford. And that means at the halfway point of the season, we are second in the table. We are splitting Rangers and Celtic, but it's very, very tight this time. Problem is we're getting some big injuries, and specifically to our fullbacks. Bojgrevnik looks like he's going to miss the season for 8 months. And defensive winger Cartum, who can also play fullback, he's going to miss 3 months. So I've got a bid in for Adam Anderson, either fullback position or defensive winger, with a heap of pros. And I'm also capitalising on the Japanese league season ending by signing Shogo Asada on a free transfer. Here's a guy who can play centre-back or left-back, and he has absolutely excelled this season, so he's going to come in on a free transfer. Now I don't have a lot of cover for Ganiev and Devlin in central midfield, so I've got a bid in for Colombian Robert Meyer for 600,000 to cover in defensive midfield. Speaking of defensive midfield, Ganiev, who we brought in to give us a more attacking outlet from Secunde Volante, has done just that, with 12 assists and 8 goals in his 30 matches. And we've got the attacking output we wanted from our playmaker from Castello, who's got 0.33 assists, 7 assists, 5 goals this season. Do you know what? This could be a big opportunity. It's not often you get into Season 2 in Scotland and Celtic and Rangers are kind of flailing around a bit, especially Celtic. We need to capitalise. We're into the second half of the season, and unfortunately the Europa League proved a bit too much for us. We weren't humiliated, only 3 defeats, but we just drew too many matches. But the big news was the momentum we were generating in the second half of the season. We only lost 1 match to Rangers, and this took us into the Championship group where we battered Celtic 3-1. Zaberi scored twice there. I've used him as a bit of an impact player, but he scored 13 goals in 13 starts. He's done exactly what he did at his old club, but for us. And to be honest, he's had to, because Shankland has just dropped off a little bit. He still scored 25 goals this season, but he's nowhere near as prolific as he was last year. And Bamford? You guessed it, he started to get injured and he missed 2 months of the season with a knee ligament injury. He's on his way back now. He has scored 15 in 39, so he's been a good foil for the front guys. When my first 11 played, it looked a bit like that. One of the signings of the season's got to be Santos Lingbo, who's came in with 14 assists from fullback. Thank you, Indonesian knowledge. And the player we brought in January, Anderson, has been insane as an attacking left wing back. Not forgetting goalkeeper Moises Ramirez, who got voted in as the best goalkeeper in the league, and you can see why. I mean, he was also a hero in the Scottish Cup semi-final. He saved 2 penalties for us against St Mirren, as we hit up our second successive Scottish Cup final. But let's talk about the league campaign, because this insane run has meant something pretty special. The goal of this save was to break up the big 2. Can you believe your eyes when you see this? Top 3, all on identical points, 83. It goes down to the final game of the season. We've scored as many goals as Celtic, but we've conceded more than the other two teams. Don't let this end this way, please. We've probably got the toughest match of the three as well, as we play Aberdeen away from home. So it's the big decider. We go against Aberdeen. Castello, like he has done so much this season, provides the key pass, and Shanklin put us in front. In the second half, we carried on the onslaught. We win 2-0, but so do Rangers and Celtic. As the season finishes with 3 teams tied on 86 points, Celtic take it on goal difference. I mean, we've got the Scottish Cup, I should be happy. But level on points with Celtic and Rangers, and we still finish behind them. What? It's hard to know what to say to the boys. They've been absolutely fantastic. We're basically in the top 3 all season, and late in the season we led the league and nearly took it. That 3-1 defeat was the only thing that stopped us getting on top of the Old Firm. Now, if I do brush myself down and carry this on and try and break the Old Firm after that disappointment, there are some transfers ready to come in. I just need to take my shell-shocked ass away for a while and have a little think.